Welcome to the Studio City Neighborhood Council regular board meeting. It is August 16th, calling the meeting to order at 7:11 p.m. Please call the roll.
Jen Gladden. Here. Kim Clements.
Here.
Dean Cutler.
Here.
Dimitri Gas.
He's here.
How do you say it?
Gatsiuna.
Gatsianis.
Gatsiuna.
Gatsianis.
Perfect.
Here. Jeff Hardwick.
Here.
Scott Mandel.
Present.
Chip Meehan.
Here.
Richard Niederberg. Absent. Lori Rittenberg.
Here.
Drew Shaw.
Here.
Adele Slaughter here.
Great.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 2, President's comments, announcements. A reminder to those attending. During public comment, you may hear colorful language that some might find offensive. The SCNC has no ability to control or regulate the content of speech that is protected under the First Amendment. Board members are reminded not to cut off, interrupt, or otherwise engage with stakeholders during their allotted time. Stakeholders, please respect the timekeeper when you are alerted that your time is up. On to item B, board vote regarding appointment of Abby Velasco to vacant residential homeowner seat. Abby, I nominate Abby for the vacant seat. Do we have a second?
A second.
Great. So what we'll do is we'll give Abby,
Who seconded? Chip? Chip second.
I had Chip as a second.
we'll give Abby a chance to introduce herself and tell us why she wants to be on the board. We'll go to public comment, then we'll go to board comment. And a reminder, Abby was on the board last term for 2 years, so we all know her pretty well. I don't expect a barrage of heavy questions for her. So this should be fairly straightforward. So Abby, introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abby Velasco, and I prepared a little letter. So I'm going to read it. I'm going to go real fast. Dear Board, after serving for 2 years as an elected board member representing the residential homeowners, I also had the opportunity to serve as secretary for the term of 2022-2023. I also serve as the vice chair of cultural affairs, and I was an active member of the transportation committee. Today, I am before you seeking for reappointment for another term as a board member. I have enjoyed being actively involved in our beautiful Studio City community. I am proud of all the work we accomplished in our last term, advocating for a community with City Hall on important issues like land use, sustainability, transportation, public safety, homelessness, government affairs, and cultural affairs. During my first term, I did experience some challenges, but the outcomes were rewarding. What kept me going? The love for my community, Studio City. The passion I have for compassion that I have for families and children, the support we've received from city officials and community partners, the endless support I received from the board, and all the events that we put together. As a child development professional, it is very rewarding to see that my volunteering work can make an impact in the community. My work as a board member has allowed me to connect with my community and even helping out with the smallest task. I can help make a difference in our community. If reappointed, I would like to continue this tradition of success, ensuring that our community voices are heard and that city government remains responsive to the different needs and lifestyles of our beloved Studio City community.
Thanks. We're going to now go to public comment. Anyone from the public want to make a comment about Abby? You'll have 1 minute. Dimitri will be our timekeeper, and he'll let you know when your time is up. Barry, go ahead.
Ditto everything Abby just said, and this should be a no-brainer for everyone on the board. She did a lot last term, including all the movie events we did and organizing the Luminaria. So please vote for Abby.
Not Goat Puppet Son, you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. One of the reasons why you should not appoint her, in Van Nuys, we have a bunch of losers. And if we have someone as great as her that follows through and tries her best, that would be very good for the board in Van Nuys. And that's one reason why. Second reason, this board needs to give her a tiara. I think that is wrong, not giving her a tiara. I think you need to support the heritage, what she deserves. But I ask you not to appoint her, have her come over to Van Nuys where she would qualify, so she could help out with a lot of the losers and the terrible Dunn representatives over there. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Not seeing any hands. Board comments or questions, or just want to go right to a vote?
Just wanted to ask why you didn't run for reelection.
Oh, that's a good question. I work full-time and I have also other tasks. So during the month from January, February, March, April, and May, I was traveling for work. And between travels, between my full-time job, my volunteer work, and being part of serving as a secretary, transportation, and also juggling two events, I really had my hands full. And I didn't really know how the rest of the year would look. I didn't know what the future would look like, and I didn't just want to over-commit to something that I was not going to be ready. So I waited until, now that I have a good forecast and how my schedule looks like, I am fully committed. And I was part of the board last year, and once I take on a task, I do deliver 100%.
Any other board comments or questions? Let's vote.
Oh, sorry, that's me. Yes is yes for Abby and no is no. So Jen Bladden,
Yes.
Kim Clements,
Yes.
Dean Cutler,
Yes.
Dimitri,
Yes.
Jeff Hardwick.
Yes.
Scott Mendel,
Yes.
Chip Meehan,
Yes.
Richard Nieberg absent, Lori Rittenberg,
Yes.
Drew Shaw,
Yes.
Adele Slaughter, yes. Motion passes.
Come take a seat up here.
Is this her?
Right there?
No. Oh, there it is. Over there.
Item C, board vote regarding appointment of Ian King to employee independent contractor seat. So the way it works in our bylaws is the person sends an email of interest, which I received, and what we do is we verify that the person is qualified for the seat. This being independent employee contractor, we received W-2, everything checked out. I gave it to our secretary, so we both confirmed that the person is qualified to hold the seat. I spoke with Ian, I had coffee with Ian. He seems very well qualified to be on the board, and I'll let him take it from there and introduce yourself. Ian.
Good evening. Good evening. Very hard act to follow. I didn't write a speech, so maybe you could write one for me really quickly and I could read it. But I am very involved with the city insofar that I've born and raised here in Studio City, went to Carpenter a very long time ago. Live in Studio City, work in Studio City. I'm a Valley guy. Born at Kaiser Permanente. I've been involved as a volunteer in various organizations, especially homeless organizations. But I've always been interested in city politics. I heard that there was a vacancy. It was recommended to me to look into it. I looked into it. I reached out to Mr. Mandel, and he and I met. He told me what it was all about. I agreed it was something I would be interested in. He agreed I'd be a good fit. And here I am.
Thank you for that. Public comment? Yes, not Goat Puppet Son.
Sir, I wish you the best.
Thank you.
All I suggest is you're going to deal with a department called the Department of Neighbor Empowerment. They're the most terrible bureaucratic a-holes that you'll ever deal with. They will give you zero support, they will punish you, and they'll try to create a narrative to follow what they want politically, not what is right. And this board generally is held, in my opinion, to a much higher standard. You can't bully body's board members. So just be very careful and always, if Dunn wants to ask you for anything, always tell them put it in writing. Because what you say, what they understand, and what they want to spit out are going to be three different things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment for Ian? Going once, going twice, nobody? Okay, board comments, questions? Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I just pull up, is your name Ian Mitchell King?
Yes.
Pull up your website. So it says you're in the military. Can you tell us about that?
I was an enlisted Marine. I then got my commission in the Navy. I started as an intelligence officer in the Navy. I then switched over to public affairs. After 9/11, I was stationed in the Pentagon, the Secretary of Defense Staff. And in the Marine Corps, I was in infantry. And what else can I answer for you about the military, sir?
Says you went to OCS, so did I. What was your class at OCS?
So I was commissioned in the reserves. So we go to what's called Knife and Fork School. It's in Pensacola, Florida. You then go to whatever your MOS is, but it's designator in the Navy. So I went to FITSEPAC, which is where you get your intel training, and that was in San Diego.
And it says you have a law degree. Did you ever practice law, take the bar?
I did not. I graduated from University of San Diego School of Law. That's where I got my JD, and I also have my master's in business, and I went to undergrad at USC.
It says Ian Mitchell King, a non-practicing lawyer and business consultant at King's Consulting LLC, based in Studio City.
How long have you
Says-
been doing that?
Yeah, it says you're a non-practicing lawyer.
Right.
But you were never a lawyer though, were you?
When you graduate law school, you're a lawyer. When you pass the bar, you're an attorney.
Okay.
I'm a member of the American Bar Association. I'm not a member of the California State Bar. I'm sorry, ma'am, what was your question?
Oh, I was just asking how long you had the consultancy business here. What sort of consulting?
So various entities will hire the firm if there is a negotiation, if there's a employee issue, if there's a negotiation with a suit, mediation issue, whatever issues come about. Anyone who's been involved with the business ownership or as an employee, those things come up, and there's always resolution.
And how long have you had the business here?
That firm for about 4.5 years.
And what did you do prior?
I was in real estate for a while, a commercial real estate firm. I've worked with a family office who own various restaurants and convenience stores and shopping centers and accounting firms. So, I'm only 25 years old, so.
Anyone else have a question or? Abby?
Have you ever attended a movies in the park?
I have,
Where?
have I ever attended a movie in the park?
She's hitting the hard questions.
That's a hard question. I was on your side with the speech. Killing me. I'm not sure, so I'd rather say no than say yes and be wrong.
Second question.
But I will go.
Okay,
when you
that was
write.
what-
I figured that was your
my mind.
follow-up question. I commit to it.
One quick follow-up. Were you ever in law enforcement?
No.
I don't know if this is the same Ian Mitchell King. Are you also a veterinarian?
No.
There are many Ian Mitchell King. This is another not actively practicing lawyer who's also a veterinarian.
I have a dog,
Yay!
a German Shepherd Rescue.
Golden Retriever Rescue.
Very, very nice.
Call for vote?
Is that it? Vote?
Jen, Gladden.
Yes.
I'm just doing it alphabetically. I can go reverse if you want. I'm gonna go from the bottom. Adele, yes. Drew Shaw,
Yes.
Lori Rittenberg,
Yes.
Richard Niedenberg is absent, Chip Meehan,
Yes.
Scott Mendel,
Yes.
Jeff Hardwick,
Yes.
Dimitri, I will get your last name eventually.
Yes.
Dean Cutler,
Yes.
Kim Clements.
Yes.
Motion passes. You're on the board.
Thank you.
Do we,
You have a seat here for him?
well, this is for the
Oh, this is for.
next, oh, over there. Moving on,
Abby's vote.
What?
oh, yeah, she technically,
She can't vote because she has not been sworn in.
well, she can. Swearing in is more ceremonial, at least according to Don. So she's,
Oh, I thought,
I'll swear all the new ones in at the same time. but technically she voted yes.
Okay, let me add,
Yeah. It's unusual because Lorenzo's not here tonight.
okay.
So moving on to D, board vote. Appointment of Ainsley, Gammon, sorry, to youth seat. Adele, do you want to take over for this one, or you want me to do it?
Sure, I'll do it.
Since you spoke to her?
Yes.
So nominate her.
You have something to say? What, oh.
Nominator will have a second.
Let me, yeah.
Yeah, put in context.
Ansley lives in Studio City. She goes to Burroughs High School. She has a permit to go there, but she has lived here all her life. She's very interested in politics, particularly interested in government affairs, would like to serve on that committee. She is a senior.
Yep.
And planning on going to Georgetown.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I'm planning on you going to Georgetown.
Yeah. So I also didn't prepare a speech because I find I usually end up going on tangents anyways. But yeah, my name is Ainsley. I've spoken to some of you already. It's been a privilege. So yeah, I've lived in Studio City my entire life, and I kind of grown up. My parents were somewhat involved, so like I've been helping set up the 4th of July parades that we've had in my neighborhood since I was a little kid. And recently also been helping to organize the Juneteenth walk that we've been doing for years. And at school, I mean, I obviously don't have experience with anything like this, but I founded a Model United Nations club at my school, which has gotten me some experience in situations like this, kind of running government simulations and representing countries, although this is definitely more real. But politics is something I've been interested in for a very long time, since I was 9 or 10 years old. And I'm just really passionate about, especially this community. I know there's been a lot going on, some controversial topics as well. So just kind of taking this opportunity to gain some experience and seeing how I can kind of contribute to the community in any way that I can.
So just to make it official, nominate.
Oh, I nominate Ainsley, how do you say your last name?
Gammon.
Gammon, to be serve as a youth representative on the board.
And I'll second. Okay, so now public comment on our youth member. Board comments, questions?
What are your hobbies?
I love hiking, so I also founded a hiking club at my school. I've been in Girl Scouts since I was in kindergarten, and I'm working on a gold award. So I'm helping to kind of transform toys so that special needs kids are able to access them. So I've been spending a lot of time doing that, and although it was kind of like a chore at first, it's really grown on me, and I really enjoy just working with the kids. And so I spend my weekends kind of playing that and hiking anywhere I can. Over the summer, I took a trip to Europe and I did backpacking through the German Alps. So being outdoors, I'm pretty passionate about like environmental conservation as well. Things like that.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
You're a senior, are you 18?
No, I'm 17. I'll be 18 in March.
Let's vote.
Did you have to do public comment?
No one had any comment.
Okay. Jen Bladden?
Yes.
Kim Clements?
Yes.
Dean Cutler?
Yes.
Dimitri?
Yes.
Jeff Hardwick?
An enthusiastic yes.
Scott Mandel?
Yes.
Chip Meehan?
Yes.
Richard Niederberg is absent. Lori Rittenberg?
Yes.
Drew Shaw?
Yes.
Adele Slaughter, yes. Abby Velasco?
Yes.
Motion passed.
And you would want to add Mr. Kinghouse.
He can't vote because he has not been sworn in and he has not done any of the training. Right?
You can
Correct.
vote, but not on funding. You get 30 days.
Oh, so you can vote on other things?
Yeah.
I think so, not if you're not sworn in and you haven't even done code of
Yeah,
ethics.
the swearing in is ceremonial, and we all voted our first day when we were all.
Whoever sworn in.
Yeah, but the swearing in is ceremonial. It's not required to vote.
Okay. Ian King?
We're going to do it in a second. Did I vote?
You did.
We did.
Yeah.
So that was 12 yeses.
Yes.
So you can come up. And then pass these down to Abby and Ian. I guess we
Sparing
stand.
no expense.
Now that's mine, so when you read it, don't say Scott Mandel, say your name, okay? So stand up.
Do we say it at the same time or?
Yeah, we're all gonna do this.
Together or?
This is the Neighborhood Council Board Member Oath. Actually, you just say it out loud because you have a copy, so just say it.
So they will start.
1, 2, 3, all at the same time, go.
1, 2, 3. I, Peggy Velasco,
Pledge to represent my neighborhood with dignity, integrity, and pride.
I, Peggy Velasco,
Will encourage other points of view, even when they differ from my own. I,
Abby
Ian King,
Velasco,
will represent, respect, value, and consider everyone's opinion. I,
Abby
Ian King,
Velasco,
will find the good in my neighborhood, praise it, and promote it. To my neighbors and to my neighborhoods throughout the city of Los Angeles, I, Ian King, pledge to do this to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard. So I'll get you signed up with email addresses, and then you'll get Cornerstone, and just take the training as soon as you can, preferably before next month. So we'll talk offline about all of that. Moving on to item E, announcement only. Studio City Neighborhood Council has 2 vacant business representative seats. Any stakeholder who is at least 18 years of age on the day of the election or appointment who legally provides goods or services for compensation in Studio City and maintains a city business license or owns business real property in Studio City. Stakeholders who wish to serve and participate, please send a letter of interest to the board secretary and president, and our email addresses are on the agenda. And we go to item 3, the secretary report, Adele Slaughter.
So we would like to, how do I do this? Everyone's read the minutes?
Yeah,
So we
you
go
just
to-
say, without objection, we approve the,
Without objection, we approve the regular board meeting minutes.
of June 21st and the special board
And
meeting
the-
minutes of
Oh, you
June.
want to do them both together?
Yeah,
And the special board of June 21st, 2023, and the special board meeting minutes of June 26th, 2023. All in favor?
well, we're just not absent any objections.
Absent, okay. That's it.
And then if you have any attendance report or training compliance, or want to say anything about training, remind people if they get a certificate.
Well, I
Just
would
send
like
it
to,
to you.
I've already talked to
Yeah.
everybody. They have all done it. They've all done all the training, and Ian, you'll get an email, and then you'll have some training to do. And also Ansley will get the training
Yeah,
as well? Yeah,
absolutely.
so you'll get an email. So you're gonna give them all their email addresses?
So you'll all get a Studio City Neighborhood Council email. I will send it to your personal email address if I have it. If I don't have it, send me an email. Well, Abby already has one. So you too. I think I have both emails. So we'll talk offline. Thank you for that. Item 4, corresponding secretary report, Jeff Hartwick.
Like to report, all the CISs and motions from last month have been dispersed to council members and staff and/or uploaded to the council file except for one.
Thank you. Treasurer report, item 5, Kim.
Okay. It's too new in the year to have really done much damage. We spent very little. So I will just go right to the motion. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the monthly expenditure report for July 2023. Do you need a second, please?
Second.
Was that Jen? Thank you.
Public comment on the monthly expenditure report? Anybody? Goat, puppet, son, not? You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Looks very correct. You're not spending almost $1,000 a month as we have done in Van Nuys. I appreciate this board not wasting money. If you'd like to know how to waste money, go to Van Nuys and you see pure incompetence. Thank you.
Any other public comment on this item? Board comment? Seeing none, we can go to.
I would just like to say,
Yeah.
I want to take this moment to thank Radford for giving us this space. It is one reason that our costs are kept down. We don't have to rent this space. They give to the community in that way, for those of you who don't know. So it's a very nice thing. We do pay for the phone line in the office, but that's a small thing compared to rents out there, so.
I want to sort of amplify what Kim just said. And those of us who know what's going on with some of the other neighborhood councils who have to pay for their space, and their space is not nearly this nice, and they don't have storage and all the amenities we have. Sometimes there's some people who sort of don't understand the generosity of the Radford Studio Center, and we are very appreciative of it. And thank you for mentioning that, Kim.
Matt, just to put some dollars and cents on that, we were speaking earlier. Terry?
Lydia.
Lydia, not even close.
I answered anything.
There you go. So Lydia is the president of her neighborhood council and rents $816 a month.
The council member is charging us, if we choose to use our municipal building, $816 per meeting.
Is that Monica?
I mean, but that's $10,000 a year.
That's just for
That's-
one meeting. We have 9 committees also.
All right, that's a third of our annual budget. It just really does underscore what Kim started and Scott amplified. I mean, it's all we would do is pay for the rent.
We also pay $7,000 for storage a year because that space included our office and storage.
Yeah, that's untenable. I mean,
We had our 20th anniversary here last March.
You can't even work off the 32K budget with that right there. No, we're so grateful. And it just shows that Radford really cares about the community, and it's wonderful, really wonderful.
although it has no bearing on any decision we may make on a development proposal.
No.
Just thought I'd say it's all being recorded.
Okay, let's vote on 5A.
All in favor of passing the,
No, we have to go one by one.
I know.
Oh.
I just want
A
to
yes
repeat
is
what we're
a-
voting on. Right, passing the
The 5A, motion 5A.
motion 5A. Passing the
July.
expenditure report for July 2023.
And the newly sworn-in board members cannot vote on this because it requires funding, training. So anyone who hasn't completed funding, don't vote.
So Abby can vote. Okay, no, okay. Okay, Jen Gladden,
Yes.
Kim Clements,
Yes.
Dean Cutler,
Yes.
Dimitri Gastonis,
Yes.
Jeff Hardwick,
Yes.
Scott Mandel,
Yes,
Chip Meehan,
Yes,
Richard Dearborg's absent, Lori Rittenberg,
Yes.
Drew Shaw,
Yes.
Adele Slaughter, yes.
thank you. Item 6, Vice President report. Chip?
hey there. I want to call your attention to the email that Scott sent out in my absence. I've been on vacation, where we actually have just lost it. We have the Harvard Westlake, May of 2023, the FEIR is submitted. 626, Neighborhood Council had a motion in which we stated that we could not approve the project as it was currently submitted because the changes in the FEIR from the DEIR did not address all the community concerns. And additionally, there were experts that were going to weigh in on some of the other issues, and those reports have not come in. On 7/12, there was a hearing officer public hearing. On 8/15, we got a planning recommendation from the city planning department, which compiled all of the feedback from the 7/12 hearing meeting to the FEIR. The day before that, we got from CD4 Nithya Raman, her take and suggestions on the proposal. The planning department stated that with 1 day's notice, they did not have enough time to include the council members' feedback in their recommendation. Their recommendation is attached to the agenda, as is the CD4 recommendation. I recommend you read them. On 8/24, the County Planning Commission will hear all this information and come up with some sort of vote, up or down. We saw 10 motions in a row, rubber stamped, at the last CPC meeting. So this feels like it's going towards approval. After the 8/20, that could change, doubt it. After the 8/24 CPC meeting, if the decision of the CPC, the Planning Commission, is challenged, it will then go to the Plum Committee. The Plum Committee will then make a recommendation to the full council. So stay tuned to next Thursday's County Planning Commission meeting on the 24th. The Harvard Westlake issue is number 1 on the agenda. So it'll be an early day as opposed to waiting all day long, which is what we had to do last month. Barry?
Did you have something to add, Barry?
It actually doesn't go to Plum unless somebody appeals. And that's a non-city entity, so the neighborhood council cannot appeal. But if they were to pass it on Thursday and nobody appeals, it's a done deal. But once it's appealed, it will go to Plum and then on to city council. One would assume, based on what usually happens, is that the wishes of the council member for the district where the project is, if that person says yay or nay, or I want this or I want that, that Plum's going to add it into it and they're going to vote for it, and that's the full city council's going to vote for what that council member wants. Being that we have a council member for this area of Studio City who's only in the first portion of her term as being a council member, it's hard to know what to predict. If it had been Krikorian, I could have predicted. But this person's new, and we're sort of watching it as it goes. But I, for one, think the planning department's recommendation that came out yesterday, it was written back in May. There's nothing in that doesn't, it's got the FEIR stuff in it. There is absolutely nothing in that recommendation, 247 pages, that comes from 10 hours of testimony on July 12th. Nothing. And the reason I say they wrote it in May is because the original dates for these two, of July 12th and August 24th, they were going to be in June when it first came out. 10 days apart. They had to have written it before because the council office had not asked for an extension and they went with those dates. They would have had to have had that 247 pages already written. So I agree with Jeff. I think the only thing that's going to make any difference next Thursday is that this is not a housing project.
Right.
They definitely rubber stamp everything that's housing. This is one of the few things that the City Planning Commission right now is looking at that's not housing. So there could be some surprises, so.
Thank you. Since we went
Everyone
to
should come.
public comment, we have to give other people an opportunity to speak on that Vice President report. Would anyone else like to weigh in on the Vice President? Go ahead.
Scott, how much time?
Go, it should be 1 minute. We'll go a minute and a half because Barry went long. Go ahead. Not go public on.
Very good report, thank you.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Okay. Item 7, announcements from government representatives. We usually hear from our NEA Lorenzo. He is not here tonight. I see Denise. Come on up. Is that Sebastian? So you'll go next.
Hi, I am Denise Shaw. I'm the field deputy for Studio City for Councilmember Corian. I just have a couple announcements. Just community events. We're continuing our No Host Summer Nights at Neville Park. This weekend, we have a movie, The Sandlot. The weekend after that, August 26th, is a Queen tribute band. Weekend over Labor Day is on September 2nd is movie Grease. And then the surprise concert on September 9th is an Eagles tribute band. So those are great events, both movies and concerts. And if you haven't come out, I encourage you to do that.
And what's the location?
Is at North Hollywood Park. The north side of Magnolia. Yeah, there's stage also. And then our other event coming up in September 17th is a mini cyclovia, which is going to be around Lankershim and Chandler. It's a small little area, but there's going to be closed. The streets will be closed for bikes and walking your dogs. There's going to be 4 stages and for performers and bunch of art installations and things like that. There's I heard today that they're having something for dogs, like dog art and dog grooming stations. I'm not 100% sure yet, but it's all coming out, so that should be a lot of fun. And that's really it. The only other thing I do want to mention is that our office is still working on the kind of cleaning up and making the short-term rentals and the party house ordinances more effective and tighter and kind of now that we have short-term rental ordinance, we're now seeing how it's been implemented and it's really not working right. So we're trying to kind of streamline that and have different kind of fine structures and things of that nature. So I don't have all the details yet. I'm hoping next week we'll have it. I could send it to you, Scott, once
Sure.
we have the motion.
And the cyclovia is on our calendar, by the way, and website, the
Oh,
mini
good.
cyclovia.
The mini,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be
So
fun.
that should be nice. Any public questions for Denise? Not go puppet. Go ahead, son.
Thank you very much. Last meeting, you specified regarding warrantless towing of unpaid parking tickets. You remember that?
No, I don't remember what you
Because of towing cars that people were living in and so forth?
that we haven't towing cars.
Yes. Those are doing with warrantless tickets. I wanted to provide you the court of opinion to that, but according to your office, I have to be a constituent to drop off any legal opinion. And in addition to that, your wonderful individual downtown said, since I'm giving you a legal opinion, I need to serve the city clerk and talk to the city attorney's office. So I just wanted to provide you supporting documents, and your office made the best effort to make sure I could not do that. So you should thank your office staff for that.
Who was it that you were working with?
I am not going to embarrass them right now. It went up to the second, up to the chiefest, second to chief of staff, so. But I'm not going to waste my time again.
Any other public comment before we go to board questions? Not seeing any hands. Anyone have any questions for Denise? Okay. I did notice that the recycling has changed.
Oh, yes.
That was kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
I
What
think you
happened
heard
with that?
I don't know why, but now it's 1, 2, and 5 are recycled. Go into the bin.
Right, so what happens with the other stuff? What do you do with it? And
Throw it away.
just goes in the black trash?
What's 1, 2, and 5? What?
1, 2, and 5. And it's, I don't have my phone there. I have
Oh, the numbers on.
the numbers. Yeah, those numbers. So one is, I think,
Can't even,
I'll tell you.
I
One
think
second.
these are ones.
oh, these are.
I think plastic bottles, but things like, I think 2 or 5 is like, laundry detergent and, you know, this thicker, heavier, bottles.
That might be something our sustainability committee wants to take a look at, because, I mean, aside from the notice I got from the council president, I don't think I've seen that anywhere else.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, does anyone know about the change in recycling? Or what, oh, you know, where did you hear it?
I heard it about a month ago. It was actually my husband who heard it, and he trained me on how to.
Oh,
I got it in their e-blast.
right, I got it from the council office.
What's the change exactly?
Now it's only recycling for 1, 2, and 5. So 1 is like soda bottles, water bottles, but that's for plastics. So it's not, I don't think glass and everything is still fine. This is only plastics marked with 1, 2, and 5.
And the rest go in the black?
Or it doesn't include aluminum cans then, right? It's just talking about plastic.
I think this is just talking about plastic. I think the aluminum.
Because I think people are gonna think they can't put cans in now.
I agree with you. I think it's misleading. I'm gonna talk to,
Okay.
our communication stuff, because I was a little
Right.
confused on it too. But so, and 2 is laundry, soap, lotion, shampoos, all those kind of bottles, and 5 is like retail containers, your yogurt containers, butter, things like that. So probably the most used type of plastic.
And I think at the bottom of the plastic, the containers, it has a number at the bottom.
It does.
And that's where you.
It has like a
you look at the
triangle?
number, a little
Yeah.
triangle and number, and that's where
Mhm.
you're supposed to.
1, 2, and 5.
Okay, you could-
I had to get trained at the house, yes.
Does everybody know that your blue bin gets sorted on a conveyor belt by people?
Well, and that's why
Yeah,
there's,
yeah. So
there's what they say is when you have the other plastics contaminated.
No,
Yeah.
I know,
So-
see.
It makes them work harder
Yeah.
to separate.
Well, when it contaminates it, do they still end up recycling it or do they just dispose of it? It becomes trash, right?
I think if it's, if it's really contaminated, it becomes trash.
If
But-
there's dog poop in that, it gets thrown in the black, all of it gets dumped in black. So basically, the do not pass go is dog poop in a bag. So,
You're talking
I mean,
about-
we had this conversation with, not CD4, but the sanitation folks that were walking around with the recycling cans, the compost cans early on, and none of us knew that. And this is something that sustainability's been working on, because in my neighborhood, a compostable dog poop bag and dog poop feels pretty organic, right? So people are throwing all that in the green can. Someone also
Not
sorts the.
anymore, right.
There
You
were-
used to be able to, but
Yeah,
not
but
anymore.
now you
That
can't.
goes into
I didn't know.
the black can.
Yes, but, so don't poop in the green can, is kind of what we're coming up with, but the same as the blue. Because basically all of that gets tossed. So if there's one bag in the blue of dog poop in the blue container, and the rest of it's recyclable plastic, which is almost oxymoronic, right? I mean, because no one really does. All of that gets thrown into the black trash there.
But what if you contaminate the blue bin with recyclable 4, 7, 8, and 10?
It depends how patient the
Right,
$12 an hour.
it's a judgment call.
They're going through it, it's on a conveyor
Yeah,
belt.
but at some point, there's a tipping point at which they then decide we're going to dispose of all of these potentially recyclable plastics and throw them away into trash.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know the
Right, okay,
details
that's
of
right,
that.
okay.
I'm happy to have someone from sanitation come and discuss it. But I want to mention one other thing about green bin is that now, and I think I've mentioned this before, that we are taking food waste. So your food waste is going in your green bin too. You have to be careful. You can't put plastic bags. They have to go in brown bags if you're going to put them in a bag. And
It's sorry, to interrupt, it's so user unfriendly. I don't see how the public can keep track of this to sort of cooperate or coordinate with the wishes of the city.
well, the green waste, the food waste is brand new, and I agree with you. I think we're gonna all have to get used to that. The same
They
way
already
we got
said
used
it's
to-
not working.
It's not working. I'm
It's
sure it's
not.
not. Of course. The city has food bins
Another
for your
great idea that
kitchen.
didn't work.
If you want one, I can arrange to get you guys some too.
That was the state that forced that upon the city, putting the food scraps in the fruit fly incubator and let it sit in your kitchen to then put in your trash can. People think it's a compost maker and it's not. It's just a fruit fly incubator with the nice little holes in top. So the
There's
flies-
nothing saying you can't use your garbage disposal.
Yes,
Yes.
they're encouraging that.
Yes.
Yeah, but then you have to use more water.
Yeah.
I have faith our sustainability committee is going to come up with a
a
flyer or some type of a post.
Could we have
For our
someone
outreach.
from sanitation come join us for sustainability?
Oh, could we have that?
Yeah.
That would be great.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monday nights,
We can do it offline.
yeah,
Yeah, well,
I'll send you-
We'll get hold of you. We'll get someone to explain it and then sustainability can explain it to all of us.
yeah, because I think the new changes are confusing. I think we need to put more information out about
Well,
it.
I think part of the issue though is that it's even without these changes, I think it's already confusing.
Of course.
I think most people, I mean, look, there are those who are very environmentally conscious, but your typical person probably looks at the recycling, doesn't even know what to do. I mean, I see stuff that goes into the recycling bins that's,
not.
I see shoelaces and shoes in recycling.
Right.
So, and that's routine.
Right, I'm sure.
So on a basic level, the public seems not to be getting whatever they're supposed to be getting.
I agree. I can tell you in my own house, like my husband, he doesn't, I told him a million times, you have to rinse out the plastic. He still puts it in.
Is it, I haven't really taken a good look, but I know that DW, Bureau of Sanitation, or now it's called Sanitation and Environment, they used to put messages in the DWP bills. Is that something that they can do, in connection with, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're doing it or not.
I
but
don't
they-
know, I don't.
But they have over the years been
Yeah.
doing that. I just wonder if they could put, recycling messages. Maybe they're doing it already, I don't know.
Let's reach out to you offline and we'll see if we get your help. And Ainsley, this could be the beginning of the youth crusade. Because we need everyone your age and younger to actually explain to their parents that, yes, you're good with your seatbelts. Now let's get to green, black, and blue cans and see if we can work this out.
That's true.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. And if we can get it going through the schools, we're trying to do something in terms of an outreach to all the education institutions because we have so many schools in Studio City.
Yeah.
So there might be a way that we could actually sort of get that information out to the schools.
Yes, I think we can. I think we can work with sanitation. I think they'd be happy to help with that.
Okay.
Yeah, to have people there to do that.
We will find you.
Thank you,
All right.
Denise.
Thanks very much for coming.
I see we have Sebastian. Sebastian, do you want to speak now or speak when we hit the speed camera item?
I can give a general update. Right
Okay, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Sebastian Lozano. I'm the district director for Assemblymember Laura Friedman in the 44th Assembly District. I believe y'all are pretty accustomed to seeing my colleague Diane Rada at these meetings, but today y'all get me. So I just want to give you a quick couple updates on what's going on in the Assembly. So this week, the Assemblymember Friedman returned to Sacramento to begin the last leg of session. We have until September 14th to pass all bills for consideration, at which point everything that's passed will go to the governor's desk to hopefully signed into law or vetoed. If there is any bills that this board has any opinion on, please feel free to contact our office, 818-558-3043. And then, or anybody individually, you can make your voice heard on any bit of legislation that is being considered in the Assembly, not just bills that are being authored by Assemblymember Friedman. Now, August was a busy month for us during the recess, We hosted a town hall with members from the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA, kind of an informational town hall via Zoom to explain what was happening in the district and how it was affecting everything from local businesses to workers. It was a very successful town hall. We're looking to do another town hall, a different topic on tenants' rights. It may be Burbank centric, but we are working to make it a little broader. That way it addresses tenants' issues in Los Angeles as well. I do want to have some news on a program. I believe we are all somewhat accustomed with Housing is Key. I have some numbers here. These are the most up-to-date numbers on the program. So there were 413,000 applications in California for Housing is Key. This is the rent relief program. There were 364,000 households served, and there were over $4 billion in funds paid out. This specific zip code has a less than 1% denial rate, which is pretty good. It's 0.18. So we are getting money out there. I believe at this time statewide there's about 140,000 applications. As you know, there was a court injunction in place that prevented a lot of applications from being processed. That has been lifted. And so now the program is looking to process a lot of the remaining claims within the next 3 to 4 weeks. If anybody has any problems with their claim, if anybody has issues with their claim, they can reach out to our office and we can assist with Housing is Key. That covers everything for now. If there's any questions, I'm free to take them at this moment. If not, I'm sure I'll be back for AB 645.
I just have a question, and that was, what was the first number you gave?
Yes, that is our district office number. It is 818.
Not the phone number, the first number. You went to the 364,000, but there was a number you gave before that.
Yes, let me give you the exact. So complete household applications was 413,452.
Okay, thank you.
We can go to public comment. Anybody have any questions? I'm sure someone's going to ask you about 411, if it's going to make it out in time to be signed if it passes. And I know it was just amended again. The ability for neighborhood councils to go to Zoom, it's in the assembly right now.
Yeah.
It was just amended just the other day, actually. Anyone from the public have a question for Sebastian? Go ahead, not go. 1 minute.
Just for clarification, I'm not going to ask him a question, but when you go to get the ramen, I'd like to give a 1 minute report what I was told.
Okay. Nobody? Board?
I have,
Go ahead, Adele.
do you know how AB 1423 is doing? That's the one about PFAS and artificial turf?
So from what I believe, that bill is expected to pass and move out of, I believe it's in Senate appropriations at the moment.
Yep.
That looks like it's going to pass.
And go on to the governor's desk?
No, it'll go back to the Assembly for a vote.
But
So-
that'll be that'll be a quick vote.
Hopefully.
Because the Senate changed the bill that, yeah.
Yeah, so once the Senate has a look at it, then it'll come back to us and then it'll go back to the Senate for a final vote. Or for us for a final vote and then to the Senate for a final vote.
Assembly, yes. And AB 499? Wasn't that Laura Friedman's originally?
Which one is that, Adele?
That's the one on the Heat Island and elementary and
But
all schools.
But 1423 is 2 votes from the governor's desk after it gets out, if it gets out of committee.
When it gets out of appropriation, it goes to Assembly, then it goes back to the Senate, and then.
Could it get stuck? Could they just jam it in appropriations and hold it?
They could. It's up to Senator Portantino if he wants to hold it. He's the chair of that committee. So it's unexpected, but anything can happen.
AB 499?
I'd have to.
That one, I think Laura Friedman started that bill. It's about elementary schools not putting on any impervious surfaces in schools, including concrete, artificial turf, et cetera. Anything that creates a heat island.
We have an artificial turf bill.
It's separate.
499, I believe, is a Rubio. That's what's coming up for me is a Rubio bill. But we do have an artificial turf.
It's SB 4, I think that's SB. Sorry, not AB.
Let me just confirm.
You're asking about the Senate Bill, 499,
Yeah.
School Facilities, School Extreme Heat Action Plan Act of 2023 from Menjivar and Stern.
Oh, it's Stern. Oh, I thought it was.
I don't have any information off the top of my head on that specific bill.
And SB 676.
You're
That's
gonna
where, that's where they're giving the right back to municipalities to outlaw artificial turf if they want to. So what happened, it's an ordinance, it's changing an ordinance, right? So what happened was when they, I'm bad at explaining these things, I'll do the best I can. When they decided that we wanted drought tolerant material put in our gardens and on parkways, they thought that artificial turf was a good idea. Now they know it's not for so many reasons. So they're going to give the municipalities the right to outlaw artificial turf, but keep the idea of drought tolerant materials, and that would be, plants, native things, right? So,
I don't have any information on the Senate bill, but I can definitely email you.
Okay.
If you'd like an update, or
Great,
you can
I'd love it.
contact my office tomorrow, and I can definitely look up. I can give you more information.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to ask about Assembly Bill 659. It's the, what are they calling it now? It's the Cancer Prevention Act. And it says that it was amended, and this AB 659 basically would require all students entering above junior high to be vaccinated against HPV. And I see where there's been a strike through, and it says from our expected to our recommended. I would like to ask that this bill be completely rejected and you completely vote against this. This has no provisions for bodily autonomy. This has no provisions for any future treatment options that are better. There is not enough scientific evidence even connecting HPV to any of the cancers that this vaccine is supposed to prevent. And this vaccine is actually being cautioned against by OBGYNs for women to take this because of the prevalence for other cancers developing from this vaccine that the vaccine isn't even supposed to help prevent. And you can't block an entire gender attending school because they have to choose, the safety of themselves and their medical decision versus, should I have this? This is a terrible bill. It doesn't have any opportunity for advancement of science and medicine at all. You wouldn't want to legislate bloodletting and leech attachment when we have, antibiotics and proper surgery these days to address these. And we don't need to enshrine in law that somebody has to take some vaccine that is questionable efficacy. So I'd really, really like for you to, have this addressed to be a no vote.
Well, I can definitely, I see your name and you're a resident of Studio City 6, so I can definitely note your comment specifically for the assembly member when I return to the office tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes.
There's been a rash of retail thefts. We saw the Nordstrom, there was like 50 people went in and just ripped off Nordstrom, all the high-end, high-value items. It's going on all over the place. So question I have for the assembly members, has she proposed any legislation which would tighten sentences, increase sentences and penalties for people that commit such crimes? Has she proposed any legislation in the assembly to deal with that situation? Because it's ongoing and crime's getting worse and worse.
So the assembly member hasn't proposed any legislation specifically addressing the crime and theft. That's a lot like we're seeing in places like just recently at the Nordstrom's or Melrose. But the assembly member does support local law enforcement and does support, their recommendations generally. However, law enforcement policy isn't a focus of purchases. I mean, typically our office doesn't author a lot of law enforcement-based bills. But that's something that I can definitely take to the assembly member when I speak to her. And what we are open to is recommendations, especially, policy recommendations. So if you have an idea specifically of what you'd like to see expanded upon, definitely reach out to your office and we can talk about that for the next session. I'm not saying we're opposed to it, just saying that the assembly member does consider these things. As somebody who was a former mayor of Glendale and had a massive retail site in the Americana in her district and is very aware of the effects on small businesses and retailers that this crime poses, especially to the safety of the community.
Right, we need to increase the penalties. I think it'd be great if she were to sponsor, a bill through the legislature to increase penalties for these individuals that do those sorts of things.
That's something our office did.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do want to echo what Jeff just mentioned. It's a big problem. It started very small with just petty theft. Walgreens, I have witnessed that at Walgreens, just grabbing things. And then now it was really sharp. It was Nordstrom's. It's Louis Vuitton. They're hitting now the high-end stores. Now, it was also the Americana, I believe.
Around there.
Yes, so it started very small with just petty, like minor things to the high end. So I'm concerned, what about burglary at our homes? I have a dog and a dog is considered a thing. So if they're not even protecting something that it's thousands of dollars, my little guy is about 500. So, but he's worth more to me than the amount of money. But it's still a thing. And if they're stealing things, is there a penalty for that? Crime is increasing, and it appears to me that you have more leverage, and now they're being told, the stores, not to do anything. Let them do it. Don't engage, do not engage. And I do understand from the safety, but then again, if that's the safety, what about our safety? When I go shopping, when we go shopping, whether we have children or not, elderly, what is our security? That is my concern. I do like to go to the Americana, it's one of the closest malls, and I think there's another one over here. And I'm thinking to myself, when I go, I do not want to see that. I do not want to have that experience. And what if someone has a gun? There's a reason why no one is approaching them, let him go. What if they shoot? What if I'm hit? I want to go out and enjoy life in a safe environment. So I urge you to bring that up to
Absolutely.
whoever is making a decision on that, because it is very serious.
Two things. I'll have to answer that. So I used to work in the city council, not that long ago. And so in the immediate, there's like the short term and the long term. The short term, my recommendation is talk to your city council rep. But talk to them. They have the direct lines to the LAPD. Our office does not. We're at the state level, they're at the local level, and those are things that they can talk to the LAPD about. Talk to your senior lead officer if there's neighborhood watch in your neighborhood. If there isn't one, you may want to form one. Those are just the short-term recommendations. Long-term, Diane comes here every month. Our office is always open. Contact us, call us, let us know what you're seeing, what you're hearing in your community. If there's a bill that is addressing this issue, that is, addresses a certain law, let us know how you feel about it. We'll talk to the assembly member and, we'll let her know what is happening here in Studio City, how y'all are dealing. And that's the long term in terms of widespread.
Would you be able to inform us when you're having that meeting? Do we have a voice?
Well, I meet with my.
I'm sorry, because apparently someone decided, let them do whatever they want to do not engage. But we did not engage in that. We did not. They didn't hear our voice.
Well, two things. I should have mentioned this in my initial comment. So I meet with my member regularly every week. And so I do let her know kind of what's happening in the district. I verbally and through report that I right? But also, Diane may have brought this up, but we are looking to bring the assembly member here in the recess, in the interim recess, in front of the board to give a legislative update, kind of like a legislative roundup of the year. And that'll be a great opportunity for you to ask questions to her directly. And so we're looking to make that happen. And Diane will be working, I think we're talking to Scott about this already. And so that'll be a great opportunity to speak to her and ask her and let her know how you all feel.
Any other? So can you stick around when we get to the speed camera or?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So we have other public comment. Oh, we didn't do public comment for you yet? Oh,
No.
you did?
No.
No.
Okay, not go.
Not go to what?
Puppet son.
Not go puppet son.
Madam, what you should be asking this fine gentleman that's giving you the middle finger is, what's the name of the schedule so you could talk to the assembly person directly? That's how you do it. It's a very simple process. I've talked to several of them, and that's how you do it. What you should also do, which I will provide to you, because I don't want to see it negative, I'll have one of the attorneys show up with you also. And another thing, so there's no miscommunication, you do something called legislative memorandum before you talk. And what I did to one assembly person that I didn't trust for shit is I brought a court reporter. So that meeting was very short. So that's the best way to do it, rather than this person speaking for you, which I don't think anybody needs to speak for you, is talk to this guy and say, when can I be available to speak to the assembly person directly? 10 minutes in person. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Go ahead.
What amendments happened with SB 411 so far?
I will get back to you on that if you provide me information. I don't have that off the top of my head or in my notes right now. I don't have that in my notes off the top of my head right now, but if you give me information, I can reach out to you tomorrow.
2028 and 2026, sunsetting and the law side.
There was another, I'll give you some clarification on that. Another amendment was just added where even if Zoom is approved, the neighborhood council still must meet a minimum one time per year, a quorum at their home location. So there still will be at least one in-person meeting. That was the latest amendment that I saw. That was just like 2 days ago, I think.
And is that for board meeting and committee meetings?
It's not specific yet, but it's most likely going to be for the board, but it was not clear. It's a good question. It just said one, so. Any other public comment, question?
One more thing to add. You don't have to go through me, gentleman's right, speak directly to the member, and if you don't want to wait.
I'm known as a woman, not a man.
Forgive me. So, you don't have to go directly through me, or you don't have to wait either until, the assembly member comes to visit the board. You can contact our office and submit a request for a meeting. We can talk to our scheduler about arranging something that way as well. They are back in session, so they're pretty busy, but we are nearing the recess. The assembly member will have more time, so that's another way you can meet with the assembly member as well.
Thanks. Anybody else? Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Okay, we have other government officials who are not here, and they phoned it in. So I will read to you the update. As soon as I find it.
Yeah, do some public comment after the city read.
Pardon?
Do public comment after you read.
Sure. Oh, yeah, I have that. You got that. I'll just read it off my computer. Okay. Bear with me.
Mine gets bigger too.
Okay. CD4 is not here tonight, the representative, because the Writers Guild leadership had asked Nithya Raman not to send someone to the lodge. So he's sending us a update, which I will read. Council District 4 updates for Studio City Neighborhood Council Board Meeting, movie night. CD4 is thrilled to be supporting the resumed movie nights at Beaman Park. Our office has been working with Abby to fund catering for the event, the return of tacos appropriate for National Hispanic Heritage Month, and connect the organizing committee with city and county departments who will have booths. The date for the event is September 23rd. Looking forward to seeing you there. Harvard Westlake Development Project. City Planning Commission meeting for the Whittington Golf Course development is scheduled for August 24th at 8:30 a.m. This will be an in-person meeting held at Van Nuys City Hall. The agenda can be viewed here. He has a link for the agenda. That's also on our website, on our calendar. It has the agenda and a link to the city planning report and a link to Councilmember Rahman's statement. In addition to attending in person, you can view the meeting on Zoom and provide public comment remotely. Instructions for doing so can be found in the linked agenda. Our office has issued recommended conditions of approval to the CPC to address a number of key issues raised by the community. Our recommended conditions aim to maximize public access to the new facilities by not only community organizations, but also individual members of the public, to increase the preservation of green and open space, improve the streetscape with safer pedestrian and ADA compliant access, and keeping construction noise and traffic impacts to a minimum. Our office also recommends a number of key sustainability improvements to ensure the facilities' structures are carbon-free and that the school install a natural grass field instead of artificial turf, or artificial turf that is free of PFAS. Our letter to the City Planning Commission can be read here in its entirety. There's a link to it. Like I said, it's on our calendar for the 24th for the hearing. We look forward to the City Planning Commission's decision and the drafting of the letter of determination by the Planning Department that will set the final parameters of the project. Leaf blower ban and enforcement. We received the board's recent community impact statement with a statement of support for Council File 230142 and requesting ordinance changes to further discourage the use of gas-powered leaf blowers, which are already prohibited from use within 500 feet of a residence in the city of LA. Our office plans to introduce a motion shortly requesting more information from the Bureau of Street Services on the number of tickets for violations of the ban that are given out yearly, and requesting more information on the challenges that the department faces when it comes to enforcement. Additionally, our office plans to meet with the city attorney's office in the next couple of weeks to investigate how current enforcement of the ordinance is intended to work under the municipal code in ways that it can be clarified and strengthened to present a strong deterrent to illegal leaf blower use. Council File 230002S37, support of SB 50. At a previous SCNC board meeting, we were asked to clarify our office's vote in support of a resolution in support of SB 50, which would restrict the ability of peace officers to make what are known as pretextual stops of motorists for a number of low-level infractions such as window tint and registration violations. This bill would not stop peace officers from pulling over any motorist who they believed has committed a separate crime, including other traffic infractions that can lead to a stop. And it would not stop an officer from issuing a ticket, which can be mailed to the offender. The kinds of stops that this bill would ban are often a vehicle for racial profiling. They have negligible value to public safety and do not include moving violations like speeding or reckless driving. Given that, our office thinks that it is in the public interest to phase them out of law enforcement practices. And as you all know, we strongly disagreed with that. We won't rehash it right now, but the board did not feel that was an accurate representation of what the police were doing as far as their, what they call the low-level infractions. And the police department disagrees as well with SB 50. And that is the update from CD4. Public comment, questions on that? Barry, go ahead, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, he's mistaken. There is no resuming of movies in the park. We're on the schedule that we set. They were never stopped, so there's nothing to resume. So, he needs to get his terminology straight. There's no resuming.
I think he's just talking because it's a new fiscal
No,
year,
he
it's a new
needs to,
term.
he needs to be worded correctly. Also, wouldn't it have been nice if their office had put out a letter for suggestions for the CUP for Harvard Westlake, even if they'd done it 2 weeks earlier? But to do it the day before the recommendation comes out from the planning department, a recommendation that was written, I believe, before even the July 12th hearing. We're between a rock and a hard place now. All these suggestions that she has made, how are we going to get it in a CUP? That they're essentially probably going to rubber stamp the recommendation report at a meeting that they're giving us,
That's time.
2.5 hours, so.
And to Barry's point, before we move on to more public comment, the representative is not here. So we lose our ability as stakeholders and a board to have a back and forth with our council member. Not Go Puppet's son.
Who, just for clarification, who was the author of that writing?
Walker King.
Thank you.
Okay, was it Ari? Or what's his name?
No, was not. Ryan
Okay.
Ahari, I think, is the other one you're thinking of. Is that his name?
Yeah, I call retard all the time. Okay, that
That's
being
Walker
said,
King.
according to when I was in Sherman Oaks with Nithya Raman, 2 seats down, I asked why the rep, or I believe it's RARI, doesn't show up. And their position is there hasn't been a field rep assigned for this neighborhood council. So obviously, they think I'm not a very smart person and so forth, which is fine. So, to me, he's still a retard. I'll call him again. If he wants to again contact the city attorney, work violence department named Vivian Swanigan and file another complaint against me, they're more than welcome to. Doesn't matter. Thank you.
Any other public comment on the statement from CD4? Board comments?
We send a statement after last month's meeting about how we were gonna come in through a neutral gate and
They were specifically asked by the WGA not to come onto the lot.
We'll be addressing that shortly in one of our items.
Didn't I see something from Walker inviting us to go see their new office? Or
Yes.
is that-
Yes.
I did, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that was in a missive to the entire board about why?
Yes.
Okay. So do we want to go see the new office? I mean, at some point, if we have a list of things to discuss with them, and we have to go to them to have the discussion, we should have the discussion for the sake of the stakeholder, whether or not we believe it's wrong to manufacture virtue profiling to not cross the DGA picket line.
Agreed.
Only 4 board.
The problem
members
is
at a time.
we have to go in shifts.
Does that Brown Act?
Yeah.
Compliant?
It can't be more than a quorum of a quorum, so, and we're not going to know what the others spoke, and it's probably going to be a little more confusing than it's really worth.
Can we zoom it?
We have the need, no.
I did ask Walker, because I was at their office on Friday with Gene McConnell of Ambulance for Peace, and I did ask him if we could have our sustainability committee meeting there. He said yes.
The maximum capacity of their largest room is 10.
Mm.
You have 11 on your committee.
10.
I count.
He said we could fit in there.
But there wouldn't be room for public.
And he would come. Yeah, there wouldn't be room for public. Anyone
We
came.
were looking in moving your committee to a slightly larger room here because we were kind of jammed in last time. So I don't think that's really much of an option. And you would
Maybe,
have the
yeah.
benefit of the office.
How's the parking at her office?
Terrible.
Oh, that's,
It's not that bad.
well,
It's right in my neighborhood.
Well, what street is it on?
It's on Ventura and Ethel.
There's no parking. I was just there. I go there regularly. There's no parking.
You'll have to take your skateboard.
Before they sign the lease. Why are you going there? Never gonna be accessible.
And they usually close
It's not even
early. So we have
It's
a,
not for themselves.
yeah.
I mean, just,
Okay, any other comments or questions to the memo I read from Walker King?
I think we should write a statement back to them.
Well, we're coming up on something like that.
Well, at what point does it start to feel like it's an act of complacency? I mean, and it's just not representation from their office at these meetings.
Avoidance.
We have it on the agenda.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. I have another one to read now. This is from Supervisor Horvath's rep, Savannah Heath. She won't come to the meeting either. Writers Guild leadership has requested that Horvath do not attend, or her staff attend any meetings on this lot during the strike. So this is what we have. Updates from Supervisor Horvath's office. Supervisor Horvath's number one priority is advancing regional solutions to homelessness. 6 months after appointing herself to the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, LAHSA, Supervisor Horvath has been voted in as the next chair of LAHSA. On August 9th, the county launched Pathway Home, an encampment resolution initiative. The focus for Pathway Home is unincorporated LA County and small cities. Pathway Home is an all-hands-on-deck approach that offers people a diverse suite of wraparound services to end their homelessness. Each operation will be different, reflecting the unique needs and challenges of the people living in each encampment. The Board of Supervisors' August 8th meeting, a motion was adopted to create a homelessness executive committee and leadership table to strengthen regional collaboration. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's kind of late in the process to have a homelessness executive committee and leadership table. Sorry. Los Angeles County standing up for the entertainment workers and hotel workers. At the August 8th meeting, the Board of Supervisors adopted Supervisor Horvath's motion to create an ordinance to strengthen workplace safety and training for hotel workers in unincorporated Los Angeles County. It doesn't affect us. We're not in unincorporated.
Nor does Pathway Home.
The other one is unincorporated as well. I don't know if this is really for us. At the July 28th meeting, the Board of Supervisors unanimously passed two motions to support striking workers in the entertainment industry. A critical industry to the Los Angeles region, the supervisors passed a motion to support SAG-AFTRA, adding to the previous support motion for the WGA. The motion urges the AMPTP, calling for them to return to the negotiation table. I believe they have. The supervisors also supported a motion to explore ways to economically support writers, actors, and businesses that depend on the industry for their livelihood. The Department of Mental Health is hiring. You can help support your local community by learning more about clinical and non-clinical positions now available. Learn more at Mortgage relief for landlords with 1 to 4 units is now available through the Mortgage Relief Program, MRP. It is intended to provide financial relief to property owners in underserved communities to alleviate their tenants' COVID-19 rental and utilities debt. Learn more and apply for the funding at the link above. You'll see the links on our website. I added these two letters onto today's calendar as part of the board meeting. And then Savannah has her contact information. Another email came in because in response to that, I asked a few more questions. Bear with me, and I think it's worth a read. Sorry we have to do it this way, folks.
I don't even want to give them the time since they're not here.
This is a good one. Trust me, this is worth it. I asked her, I wrote her and said, thank you for the update. Any news on getting info on the county land as it relates to the Harvard Westlake River Park project? As far as the private labor dispute, we will have a motion on our agenda addressing that. And the response is, we don't have any new information about the county land, but in case it's helpful, here are 2 points that we recently got confirmation about. Other than the ADA ramp connecting the ZEV to the Harvard Westlake property, nothing will be altered on the ZEV Greenway. All fencing will be on the Harvard Westlake property, not on the Greenway. The turf being proposed in the project is compliant with the regulations in the upcoming state bill.
No, it's not.
That's why I'm looking
No,
at
it's
you
not.
now. And their office will be meeting with some community members tomorrow. Terry Austin, Barry Johnson, Kim Tashman, Dale Fernandez. So maybe those people can try to get the information we've been asking from Supervisor Horvath, that we personally asked her back in May about the county land, and she would get right back to us. And we still cannot get any information about the county portion of the land. It's a simple question. We asked about the lease and the purchase, not the golf course lease, the new lease that would allow Harvard Westlake to operate the river park. It's a fair question. And the purchase information about the land that Harvard Westlake is purchasing. So that shouldn't be that hard to provide. So now we'll go to public comment on that. Barry, you have 1 minute.
Supervisor Barger told us in July that the county never sells land like that. They only lease it. She's been on the Board of Supervisors a lot longer than Lindsay Horvath, and she was a chief of staff for her predecessor. The other thing I should just mention is we're not sitting in Horvath's district. We are in Barger's district. She has sent her representatives here, maybe not tonight, but she has sent them. Horvath is west of Laurel Canyon. So you don't think we're sitting in her district, we're not.
No, I don't know, she's not. She's not west of Laurel Canyon.
She is.
On my ballot and, in Colfax Meadows on Farmdale, where we live, Horvath is in Pittsburgh.
It was changed after redistricting. We didn't vote. It's not based on what you voted on, it's what happened in redistricting.
Oh, I didn't know
And,
that.
Yeah, we're in Supervisor District 5, Barger,
Oh,
all the
okay.
way west to Laurel Canyon.
Okay, gotcha.
Not go puppet son.
Glad you ask questions. Need to do a little more on a legal basis, it's like a Public Records Act request. Even though that you're an official, there was a Court of Appeal decision regarding a Ventura County Board of Supervisor that actually had a Public Records Act request on his, for himself, and their position was, you can't do it because you're a politician. The code is very explicit. Anybody can ask, you should ask it that way, put them under a time schedule.
Thank you for that. Brandon?
Just a quick comment. Your job is to read the official communication, not berate the writer of the communication and then go to public comments. It kind of sets the public up the way you think, and that's not right. Just read the official communication, go to public comment, and then you make comments during board debate. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other public comment? Any more board comment on the berating that I just did?
Job well done.
Thank you. Okay, I think, did we get any other emails that I might have missed of people who phoned it in? No? Okay, that's it for government representatives. On to item 8, public comment on non-agenda items within the neighborhood council's jurisdiction. 1 minute, 30 seconds per speaker, 15 max, extendable by chair. Public comment on non-agenda items. Not go puppet, son? These are a minute and a half if they go that long, Dimitri.
Thank you.
Based on the representation of the last speaker and my understanding, I'll be glad to give you, the whole board, a copy of the Brown Act section, which I'm not going to cite, which you're allowed to ask for clarification and investigation purposes, and so forth. So if you want to opine to it, that's fine. But unfortunately, the speaker last did not provide what you did wrong. It was just an opinion, not a citation. As this fine gentleman is not a practicing attorney, he would know that with his JD, since he's a doctor with a doctorate. That's very important to do that. So, as you know, I like, in my writings, I put points of authority and so forth. So, are you finished? Or?
Sorry.
No, nothing to talk about. Okay. So, always ask to have the authority that you're citing. And most of the time, you hear crickets or static, or when I give authority, people tell me to go F myself because I'm a cracker, racist, bigot Republican, so, which is fine with me. So that's why I did something called bnnc.info. So when anybody ever does need a point of authority, I provide it at no charge. And I always make sure anybody ever needs access to legal, I will be glad to give pro bono work at the law library. Thank you.
Any other public comment on a non-agenda item? Brandon, nothing? Okay.
That diatribe, no way.
We are done with public comment and non-agenda item. Number 9, motion. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports Ciclavia the Valley, scheduled for December 2024 from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Tentative route, Campo de Coenga, Lankershim to Ventura Boulevard, and then Ventura Boulevard through Studio City to Sherman Oaks, approximately 6.25 miles long. See attached letter of support. This motion is being brought by me, so I will need a second.
I second.
Thank you, Adele. Just some context. This doesn't cost us anything. This is just support that the Ciclavia people asked for, and it'll probably go through, well, actually might go through Denise. This is the big Ciclavia for next year. So it is correct, it's 2024, but the grant and the process is starting now. So we were asked to support it, and our support will grow as the date becomes closer. We'll probably have a table and participate, and so will the other neighborhood councils that'll be along the route. So if you've ever been to Ciclavia before, and I've been to a few, we had one in Studio City in 2015, I think. Right, Barry?
One of those years, we've had it once.
And I think it deserves our support. Again, it doesn't cost us anything, and we're just throwing our support behind it to help with the grant. Public comment? Yes, 1 minute, not go public side.
I don't mind it. It's pretty cool. They even help fat people, old people like me, ride a bicycle. Appreciate that. The question I have, in which I can't figure out because I have such a low IQ level, is where do they get the $6 million figure to run it? And that's what I've asked for and trying to figure out and so forth. They don't provide food, to my knowledge, and I just don't know how that works. So if you could find out potentially what's the $6 million used for, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Barry?
I think the money goes towards paying all the overtime for the traffic people that Ciclavia has to pay them to be out there on their day off to do it. And I could see how that could be a lot per Ciclavia, or definitely 6 million in a year.
Thank you. Anyone else? Board?
Do you know the date?
Pardon?
Do you know the actual date?
No. December 2024. I believe.
The first or second Sunday.
Would it interfere with Illuminaria if we did
It
that?
might be.
Don't be so hopeful.
It actually might be coordinated with it because it would bring people to vote.
It would be starting at the same location.
They could all have a luminaire and they could have, you know.
We should do it on the same day.
It would start at the Campo.
In my rainbow.
Anyone else? Let's vote.
Call for a vote. Okay. Sorry, I gotta go back to my list. All in favor of supporting Ciclavia? Jen Bladden?
Yes.
Yes. Kim Clements?
Yes.
Dean Cutler?
Yeah.
Dimitri?
Yes.
Jeff Hardwick?
Yes.
Scott Mandel?
Yes.
Chip Meehan?
Yes.
David Niederberg is absent. Lori Rittenberg?
Yes.
Drew Shaw?
Yes.
Del Slaughter, yes. Abby Velasco?
Yes.
And Ian King?
Yes.
Ashley Graham? Oh, Gaiman. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
Motion passes.
Item 10, Cultural Affairs. Abby, take it away.
Hello again. So, Cultural Affairs Committee has been preparing for an upcoming Movies in the Park in September. And here is the short, I'll go real fast. This is the agenda per se. It's scheduled to be on September 23rd. Exhibition booth, there are going to be City of LA booths, and I'll tell you in the next slides who they are, but it's gonna be roughly between 5:30 to 7:30. Food, snacks, soft drinks, music, 6 to 8. And Councilmember Anita Roman, she's gonna be there from between 7:30. That does not mean that she's going to be speaking for 30 minutes. It's just that roughly that would be her time. And then the movie scheduled to be from 7:30 to 9:30. The movie is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And that's the first draft of our flyer. Who are our sponsors? We have the Office of Nithya Raman. She is sponsoring tacos for about 200 people. We also have David and Gina. They're sponsoring again the movie, which is great. Also the library, Studio City Public Library, it's going to be there with us, and they are going to be sponsoring lots of books for children. And also Beeman Park is another sponsor, and they sponsor all the multimedia, the giant projector and all the multimedia. Projector, screen, sound, microphone, canopies, tables, chairs, etc. And they don't charge for the park. Also, we have a new partner, Starbucks, and we're gonna have iced coffee and other soft drinks. Yay! Some of the city, LA city partners that are joining the fund. It's going to be LAWP. Very excited. Also, Metro is very, very interested in joining. They're just hiring. They're in the process of hiring someone. So hopefully, if that hiring process happens this month, between this month and next month, they will be able to join us. I have reached out to LA Sanitation, and I haven't heard from them yet. So I'm reaching out. We're reaching out to other LA city departments, and we'll see. So this is just what we have so far. The budget, how much is this gonna cost? We're looking for $2,000. And that is for soft drinks, about $250, snacks and ice, about $350. Swags with our logo, about $400. Printing flyers, $300. And then also Beeman, we pay for the staff to help out with the whole setting up. That's about $684. Miscellaneous, I just wanted to make the numbers even, $16, so we don't have a lot of wiggle room. So we're shooting for not to exceed $2,000. Any questions so far? Yes.
Last time we ran out of everything.
Yes.
Did you get more money in the budget for everything?
What happened, we had a meeting and what we noticed, was discussed is that people were coming in, particularly young children, and they were just grabbing things. So it's gonna be a little more control into that. And also the bags are gonna be, the shopping bags are gonna be given to the adults, not necessarily for children to just put them in so everybody has, the fair amount.
But, I mean.
We should go to public comment first.
That's it.
Yes.
Not
Are
go.
you done?
Oh,
No,
and-
oh,
No,
why
this
don't
is
you
just
finish
a-
that?
Oh, yeah, I thought you were finished.
No.
Okay,
Okay, so
just
this
keep
is the
going.
one part of the budget. The second part of the budget, this is not necessarily budget for movies in the park. This actually should be part of outreach, but because at least I'm not aware of an outreach chair. And when we had our meeting in cultural affairs, we came up with the idea of maybe purchasing tablecloth and banners that are going to be continued use by the SCNC. And the tablecloth, purchasing 4 will be around $800. You may think that that's a lot of money, but it's actually not. They're actually on sale. Regular price is almost $300, and right now they're on sale for $161. So times 4, tax, shipping, and all that, roughly about $800. Banners and inserts about $200. So this second motion is no more than $1,000. And if you're thinking, why do we need a banner? If you look at this picture, when we wanted to take a picture together, everyone ran to the right. Why didn't they go to the left? Because there's no banner. So everyone went to the right. So ideally, what we would like is for everyone to take a picture with their partners, with maybe some community members, and fill up the booth. Also, we have had balloons. Balloons are fun, but we want to look more professional. So we believe, cultural affairs, we believe that maybe having some black tablecloth will make us stand out a little bit more, and then also the look to be more professional. So that is the idea.
With the logo.
With the logo, yes, with
Black.
the logo, black. Bills and I don't, that the number, with the color, I don't mind. It was just the color that we, cultural affairs suggested.
Should be our colors, the green and white logo.
Okay.
It will.
The color,
On black. It'll be that on black because black won't show spilled stuff. White will.
A dark green tablecloth with a white logo.
Perhaps.
So if we order the tablecloth and the bags, then we actually save a little of money on shipping. Shipping is expensive. And so running the numbers, it's about just ordering it together. It's actually a little bit better. And you can see, I also put a picture there that they are on sale. The price is $242 per tablecloth. So if we buy them now, I just checked last night and they're still on sale at $160. My vision is so bad, $161.57. So altogether, I guess ordering it together would be better. So with that, I have the 2 motions. Before we go through the motions, do we have any questions, comments?
So 2,000 is for the movie in
$2,000
September,
is
and
just for
1,000 is for capital investment that we'll have for a long time.
Thank you, yes. So movies in the park is not necessarily $3,000. Movies in the park is actually less, it's $2,000 solid. And $1,000 is something that we are going to be using throughout the year, and not just for movies in the park, but maybe for Ciclovia, for other events that we have.
Luminaria.
That
So,
was sustainability
before-
events.
Before we go to public comment, Abby just made mention of something that I forgot to mention during the announcements at the beginning. Jen is our outreach chair, and Drew is our homelessness committee chair. So all of the committees all have chairs. Anyone who wants to join a committee, on our website, all the committee chairs are listed. Contact the committee chair and submit a letter of interest. And now we'll go to public comment, 1 minute on what Abby just presented. Barry?
Kim probably has a good idea on doing the dark green as opposed to black with our logo. So we should probably look into that. We just didn't want to do white,
Understood,
Yeah.
for good reason, but
but that
Black
dark
doesn't
green
make
color,
sense.
yeah.
Not Ghost Puppet Son, you have 1 minute.
Once again, you're putting on a fantastic show and job. Dunn was here, they would probably beat you down some way. But I appreciate, Dan, I would never do something like this because they're not very smart over there. My question is, if you have sponsors, if I want to be a sponsor, how do I do it? And also, how much money does it cost?
Whatever you want to sponsor, if you're a sponsor, you can just reach out to me and we'll talk and what the possibilities are for your sponsorship. There's not necessarily a certain amount. We are looking into Shape Eyes. That will be a great addition. So we can talk offline about that, but.
Subjective, okay.
But these are our sponsors so far.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other public comment before we go to the board? Board questions?
Yeah, I have a whole bunch.
Oh, take it away.
First of all, what do you think the draw will be for the public to have Metro or Department of Sanitation there, DWP? What do you think? What do you envision that those booths will bring to, other than just handing out, a Metro schedule or something?
We were just having a conversation about recycling. So it would be really nice for LA Sanitation to be there and to actually have activities for either young children or even adults who also we need training. I was lucky that my husband trained me on that. But that would be one way to just bring awareness to our community. Metro, honestly, I don't, Scott probably is more familiar about Metro because he does take public transportation. I don't, but I would really like to know a little bit about, what are some benefits that they're offering right now? I don't know, but I would like to be aware, especially if I'm part of the board and also the community could probably, be aware of what's out there. I mean, the train stations are expanding. I don't have that information, but Metro does. LADWP, I hear comments about how expensive our water, electricity, that when the guy comes over, John, like, all right, here he goes. And 2 days later, I have the bill, and I don't know why it keeps going up. So those are questions that I probably would like to ask, or maybe other people would like to ask. I don't know. So
It's just obviously supposed to be a fun event, so it is nice if the businesses could, more of the businesses, I mean, it would be really wonderful, I think it'd be a great draw to have the businesses of the area come if they wanted to, and have a booth and give out samples. A bakery wants to kind of advertise, it's a win-win for everybody, if we can, I realize it's a lot of work too, but that would be fun stuff.
If you have some ideas of businesses, please forward them to me and, or feel free to reach out to those businesses. You are also part of the board. Any board member can actually, if you have a business partner, potential business partner, not necessarily that they want to be sponsors, but if they want to be part of it, please feel free to reach out to them. I will send you my sample of what I send out to the partners and to the city of LA. I will be happy to send you that sample for you to send it to them, and voila. The more the merrier, the more that we are engaged in the community, sharing out about our event, I think it will be better. So it's not just the cultural affairs, but it's everyone.
Of course. So a few thoughts. I know we usually do a couple of these a year. Can we, and it'll be a little bit work to set up, I know you're developing relationships with the park and whatnot, but why not perhaps another park and reach another part of Studio City and also our other council person?
Because that is the only park that has public bathroom.
Okay, so we're kind of stuck with that.
So,
Okay. Makes sense. I've just always wondered. The bags. We realized the last time we discussed that they were too big, was part of the problem. They were really big. They're great for a grocery bag, but they also, yes, people were stuffing stuff in them because they were big. So I'm not sure that that's the best way to go, the large bags versus a smaller bag, which I think Raman's office, you and I were talking about the bags. Somebody had a great smaller size, which was still useful, but not the giant shopping bag size, which could cut down on cost as well if we went with smaller bags. It might be a win-win to do such a thing.
the cheapest bags that I have found are $1. I have not been able to find any bags that are cheaper than $1 per unit. If you're able to find something cheaper than $1 per unit, I'm happy to review it.
And that's for the large ones that you bought last
That's
time?
for, it's kind of medium. This one is a little bit smaller, I see.
Is this the same vendor that we were using, that we've used before?
Yes, for the bag, but it's not
Do you
the same
recall the
bag.
name of the vendor? By chance,
For
that you got these prices
Oh,
from
for
and then?
promo.
For all promos? Okay, great, because I think, well, actually, the Quality Logo Products was the original balls that we got. Last time we weren't exactly thrilled with the colors of the balls and the printing. It wasn't as good as the original ones we had
Oh,
done.
for the second set of, the beach bowls.
Yeah, that was the
Brandon
for all
ordered them-
promos. Yeah.
Brandon ordered them through that website. I was not involved, I'm not really involved in so much into the ordering, I just put the budget together. And Brandon was great into ordering it, and I think the reason why he ordered them from Old Promos is to save in the shipping. Now, would we have known that we were not gonna get the first aid kits, then I am sure he would have ordered them from the other vendor, from the previous vendor. We still have beach balls. We have about 75, in which we are planning on giving them out to our constituents, our young stakeholders.
It is important, though, that the information, that you're kind of overseeing that ordering and making sure that it's being ordered from the proper place, and because I don't think the information got to Brandon of
Well,
that.
it is a committee, and I only have 2 hands.
Yeah.
And it is a committee, and everyone is assigned a task, and I have fully trust into each person.
But he wasn't
don't
on that
mi-
committee, right? He's not on the.
I don't micromanage people.
But he wasn't
That's
on the-
not my style.
But he wasn't on
And
the, all
Brandon
I'm
was
saying.
great,
I'm on the point of information, not only board members.
and Brandon was a board member last year, and he was part of the Cultural Affairs Committee. And once the task is assigned to a person, I have I have to trust them 100%, otherwise.
Yeah. I won't get into the nitty gritty. It does end up kind of confused when the people who are, I'll let that one go for now. I just wanted for you to be aware that we should use the same company. We can also develop a relationship with them. And then we can get discounts, because I noticed there were setup costs in this, was the reason I was bringing that full circle.
When you say we, are you saying me, or are you saying we as the board?
We as the board should be using the same vendors for a number of, if we can, that's all. But I noticed there were setup costs in there, is the reason I'm bringing up the subject. There were setup costs. If we've used them before, I'm not sure why there's setup costs involved again.
I have called them, and the setup fee is the setup fee. There's no way around it.
Some of the other ones were just a one-time setup fee for for them to put the logo into their artwork or whatever.
If you forward me that information, I am happy to review it, but until I have it in front of me, I am not able to do anything.
Okay, just asking questions. And the other thing was, my thought too, was on the 4 tablecloths. I would really hesitate on ordering 4, because we don't know how that printing's gonna look, how the color's gonna, until you get something in hand, and it's a lot of money to spend without a sample, an actual sample. And I would suggest 1, maybe 2. And that picture is a great picture, by the way, that you showed. 2, I could see the date for 2. I don't think 4. I don't think anybody's gonna wanna be in charge of 4 tablecloths and picking them up and bringing them back. I could be wrong, Barry and
We already
Scott?
have,
4
we
or
already have
2 don't weigh any different, so it doesn't really matter. As long as you know you're getting what you want printed.
And the banners, these aren't banners we already have and are using, correct? These are additional banners?
Any other questions from you guys?
I think your tablecloths look fantastic. I think your original tablecloth to go with the black tablecloth is a fantastic idea. Hunter green hasn't been fashionable since the mid-90s and frowned upon, and would entirely clash with the green in the Studio City logo. I think that black tablecloth is durable. It's very classy. You can use it for many different kinds of events. You can show up at a nice indoor. You could show up at the Capitol with a black tablecloth, and look very sleek and polished. You know, we're not trying to look like trailer park salesmen from the mid-90s. I think black tablecloth.
See, do you
would be
see
very-
black working there?
Yeah, absolutely.
You do? 'Cause
Black
I
works
don't,
in
but-
everything. Black is in your outfit. It works with pink. It works with any color that you want to throw it with. Black
Yeah,
is
I
a
just-
fantastic choice. It's very durable. It's going to hide any stain that anybody spills on it. It'll be easy to wash and launder. It'll look nice over time.
Thank you.
But she, remember, she won't be ordering it. Someone else she's gonna have ordering
Sure.
it,
I think
so-
she's doing a great job, and I think you should keep going.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Any other questions or comments before we go to our motions? Yes. Chip.
Thanks, Abby, for all you're doing. One of the observations I made I audited Abby's meeting, and I think that these movies in the park, although for some reason, I'm out of town every time she has one, in spite of my absence, they're the largest outreach we have in the community of every event. I mean, and they've gotten bigger every single time, and it's important for us to get as much community engagement as we possibly can, so we can start to actually harvest people in the community to replace us. And so for that reason, it's great. And I think that, Kim, to your point about standardizing and everything else, we might want to sit there and structure that maybe the outreach committee is responsible. They're the logo police, and so we sort of get that done. And if that's, and everything would go through outreach or something like that, I think we should standardize it and use the same vendor. And then we could also have the conversations about, yeah, we have beach balls, sustainability is upset because we're throwing plastic all over the playground. I mean, there's some things we'll need to figure out behind the scenes on that. And I lost the other thing. Well, I forgot.
Can I just tag on what you were saying about this being the biggest outreach thing that we do? And I'm just concerned you're not asking for enough money for the food and the supplies, because last time it was really sad.
It was, people, but there were some kids that were, there were a
Yeah,
lot
but
of
not
people,
just
but.
it's not just about, I mean, there were a lot of people, and I'm just worried that we're not putting enough money into it. That's what I'm.
There won't be as many in mid-September, I guarantee it.
Oh, because that was a summer.
That was June.
And the tacos is a much better thing to do. So, yeah. Is 200 people enough?
That's bigger than, would you have 120 last time?
We had 170. I
No, we had
forget the number.
120,
It was
we had to
like-
add, call Ramen and ask her if we could add 50 to it in the middle. So, and
So
that's
we
what
we had slightly under 200. I don't recall the number right now, but it was slightly under, so we should.
And the people, I mean, some people didn't get any food. That's my point. My point
Well,
is,
also, the food is it's only a 2-hour service, first come, first serve. That does not mean that they're gonna be there, for catering, it's a party and everyone.
right.
For it's just.
Well, the-
first-
the
and
last-
it's usually most of the events, they just have first come, first serve for a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Go ahead, Jen.
I just would very much like the ordering to come through outreach. Like, I think Chip makes an excellent point. And so
Oh, I remember
I'm
the
going
other,
to vote yes, and I'm going to say also, please let me push go.
and the other thing, while I quietly freak out as someone that spent my career selling sponsorships, we need to straighten out what the protocols are. We're not going to do alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. We're not going to have a weed shop. We need to figure out what's going on. So if we have Starbucks, do we need to go to Pete's? We need to figure out what the rules are about what we're allowed to do with sponsorship, and then come up with a bit more structure to it. And it's not, there's no price, what do you got in your pocket? There are very few of them, and they're very expensive, is the way we're gonna go at this, I think is
The
the way.
council office can deal with that. We shouldn't have to.
Okay, well, let's figure that out. I mean, they're made, which would also take a lot of work off your plate, and then we could go to Taste of Studio
I'd
City.
love to see though, if you were able to walk around and there were businesses that sold some clothing or had a little thing, I mean, it would be, I'd love to see it turn into that kind of a community event.
But that's different from
personally.
a sponsorship where
Yes,
we
yeah,
actually
yeah,
take
yeah.
money. We
Yeah,
need to
absolutely.
So, yeah, let's talk about the way that we expand it like that. Because this is an easy way to get in here, and by the time we have someone and we have their kid come for Puss in Boots, and then we go out with a scroll of homeless and everything else we need their help with, it's a really good way to get the families in here.
So throughout this time that I have been here and leading movies in the park, it has been me doing outreach. It has been me. That's it. I'm the person that is doing outreach to all the communities.
Really?
It's just me.
Raman said that they were putting
They
flyers
are
out door to door at their
doing
office.
Flyers, but when outreaching, I'm talking about outreaching to LA City, to all the LA City.
You mean discuss, trying to get
Everybody
people,
in.
corralling
It
people,
is-
yeah.
It is me. It is, I'm happy that Jen is here, and I just learned today that Jen is the outreach. At least.
That's
at
different
the
though than
beginning
dealing
of
with the city people, like you do.
And as far as I'm concerned, we're not allowed to sell things. So selling clothing, you're not gonna see that.
We're not selling.
Or anyone selling. You're not gonna see
You can't
vendors.
have a vendor.
It has to be gratis, period. And to get people to sponsor at 100%, it's not easy. I'm doing that. And I can tell you, it
we
takes
had that
time
balloon
and
guy.
effort. And I am happy that Jen is here because I am going to be reaching out to you and I'm gonna pass that outreach baton to her. Because I have been doing it.
Yeah, I don't think you, okay.
Yeah.
And
I think they're
was sending
different things.
templates.
She's not understanding that what you're doing is different than what she's been doing.
Yeah.
But
we-
we'll have a meeting and then we'll decide who's doing what.
Yeah.
And then if we need help, I would love for you to come over to any of our cultural affair meetings. Can anybody help?
I come to the event and work that and talk to the people and try to get people to sign up for emails and ordering half the time and
We
paying
always-
the bills. And so it's a
You're
lot of
busy
work for everybody to go around, so.
So I'll just throw a little 2 cents worth in from my perspective, having done a lot of the physical manual labor for every single event we've ever had. I'm fine trusting Abby and Jen. Do it, and I'll support all your motions and colors and flags and balloons and whatever, and I will use my van and bring the stuff over there. I'm thrilled you're putting in the effort, and that's enough for me. So I have nothing more to say on that.
Well,
Go ahead, Dean.
I'm just thinking as far as the businesses, and as president of the bid, I will talk to Vicky, executive director, and I'm thinking maybe she can use our resources for businesses in the bid, perhaps to do some gift cards, and maybe we have a drawing from some of the businesses who want to do gift cards or something that might cause some participation, make a part of an event, and such. That,
We
you know,
return you guys are a business and that's what we need. We need sponsors
Yeah.
as well, food or
I
anything
think it's,
else.
I mean, I think, some kind of a drawing for certain things that those would bring some people to the store, so there's mutual benefit.
Sounds great.
Excellent. So can we move on into?
Hey, Drew, did you have a?
I call for a vote.
Oh, I think I had another question. Let's vote.
All right, so motion, what is it, 10A?
We kind of combined them, but we should vote on each one separately, so we'll do 10A and then 10B.
You only did one public
Do we have any more public comment or can we?
Well, the public comment encompassed both, but. Oh, okay, out of an abundance of caution, Brandon has something to say. Brandon, you have 1 minute.
Okay, just to answer Kim's question, I know I shouldn't be speaking directly to board members, but both the first aid kits and the beach balls were ordered at the same time. And For All Promos is basically a middleman. And they go out and they order from a vendor. And then they receive it and they deliver it. According to the point person, the vendor never got back to them and said they ran out of first aid kits in that color. And by the time they did get back, it was too late, the event was gonna happen, and there wasn't enough time to get the first aid kits. So it was the middleman not being told by the manufacturer that they ran out of the color. So that's why we only had beach balls, but I do agree with you that maybe for all promos, there's another promo company that I think Abby sourced for that
I
perhaps.
think you and I found the quality logo products. We bought the things the time before.
Yes.
That, they were good.
So just to clarify, that's what happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't Abby's fault, it wasn't Culture's
No,
fault.
no, no, I wasn't saying that.
Okay.
Not Goat Puppet Son.
And I would like you to talk to Lori what I'm going to be saying. I'm able to offer for free continuing education for attorneys, in which there's a lot of in this area. So you allow me to set up a booth there, they can come get a 1 credit of free education, which they normally have families that might be more beneficial. Lori might want to comment if that would be a good idea.
Thank you for your comment.
Any other public comment? That's it? Okay, now we can vote?
Voting on 10A. I need to repeat it?
You have to read it.
Do I do? Okay. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the budget for the movies Hispanic Latino Heritage Month on Saturday, September 23rd, 2023, not to exceed $2,000. Vote Jen Bladden.
Bladen, yes.
Bladen, sorry.
That's okay.
Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Dimitri Gastellanos.
We're getting there, yes.
I'm getting there. Jeff Hardwick.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Chip Meehan.
Yes.
Richard Niederberg absent. Lori Rittenberg.
Yes.
Drew Shaw.
Yes.
Adele Slaughter, yes. Abby Velasco.
I can't vote.
Oh,
I don't have money.
because it's your motion. Because it's, so you all can't vote. Okay. Because it's money? Okay, it passes. Motion passes. 10B, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves purchase of 4 tablecloths and signs for continued use by SCNC not to exceed $1,000. Jen Bladen,
Yes.
Kim Clements,
Yes.
Dean Cutler,
Yes.
Dimitri,
No.
Jeff Hardwick,
Yes.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Chip Meehan,
Yes.
Richard Niederberg is absent, Lori Rittenberg,
Yes.
Drew Shaw,
Yes.
Del Slaughter, yes. You can't vote. Okay. Motion passes.
So I have a question, and that is coming from committee, so there's no second.
Correct. On to item 11, Government Affairs. Barry. Go ahead.
First motion, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports Council File 22-1196-S1 if amended to ensure a truly independent redistricting commission and an expansion of the Los Angeles City Council to 25 members, as long as the new total of city council seats does not exceed the current total city council budget. For example, if the total number of council seats is increased to 25, the total city council budget would be divided by 25 instead of currently dividing by 15. There's an attached letter, and this motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to Council File 22-1196-S1. And I will just point out that we have chimed in on this in the past to a different council file. This is pretty much the same motion as we did before, but there's a newer council file circulating. Scott?
Public comment on what you just heard? Not Go Puppet Son, you have 1 minute.
Once again, you wrote the motion very well, and the reasoning was thought out. Fortunately, my thought is different. Why would I want more members when the same resources are still there that are not supporting society? That's the problem. So, as a lot of these city council people, their deputies always say is call 311. So, it's the same funnel with the same capacity. That's the reason why I don't support it, not because of any other reason. There's just, same resources are just still there without expanding the resources. They have a broken system down there, and they enjoy it. They're the solution looking for the problems. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Not seeing any. Board comments, questions? Everybody read all the links? Great, let's vote.
Do I have to repeat it? The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports Council File 22-1196-S1 if amended to ensure a truly independent redistricting commission and an expansion of the Los Angeles City Council to 25 members as long as the new total of city council seats does not exceed the current total council city budget. For example, if the total number of seats is increased to 25, the total city council budget would be divided by 25 instead of currently dividing by 15. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement to Council File 22-1196-S1. Jen Bladen?
Yes.
Kim Clements? Oh, she's not here? Back to her. Dean Cutler?
No.
Dimitri?
Yes.
Jeff Hardwick?
Yes.
Scott Mandel?
Yes.
Chip Meehan?
Yes.
Richard Niederberg absent. Lori Rittenberg?
Yes.
Drew Shaw?
Yes.
Del Slaughter, yes. Abby Velasco?
Yes.
Ian King?
Yes.
Ansley?
Yes.
Motion passes. I'll ask Kim later.
Okay, motion B, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes the boycott of our meeting locations, in parentheses, due to any strike, at the Radford Studio Center by Los Angeles City Council member Nithya Raman and Los Angeles County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, or any other elected or public official. The SCNC has met at this studio center for more than 20 years. Government officials are expected to send their representatives and have attended our meetings at this location for 20+ years. Like the United Nations building in New York City, the SCNC is a neutral entity at the Radford Studio Center and is not taking positions on any strike. All who attend SCNC meetings enter through a quote-unquote neutral gate where there are no picketers. Furthermore, the SCNC and elected/public officials represent all stakeholders in Studio City. See attached letters to both Councilmember Rahman and Supervisor Horvath. Scott?
We have public comment on this item. Not Go Puppet Son, you have 1 minute.
Once again, you did a wonderful job, focused to the point. So when you made this suggestion, I decided to see where she gets her funding, her little political currency money. Not from Studio City. So if you guys get a whole bunch more money, she would change her mind. But what's the value of that? So she's a hypocrite. I've dealt with her many times. Very nice lady, but when she speaks to me, but I would never trust her with my wallet, my car keys, just nothing. She's useless to me. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Brandon, you have 1 minute.
At 7:36, Scott said people don't understand the generosity of the Radford Studio Center, and we're very appreciative of it. At 7:39, Kim said Radford really cares about the company.
The community.
The community, my apologies. Every month, you pay what amounts to maybe a dinner for this, the office, a gym, and a mail center, and whatnot. There's an appearance of a quid pro quo here, in my opinion. You can shake your head all you want, on your opinion. That you get a sweetheart deal, you can ask her what's going on with the neighborhood council system. They just had a meeting in the city this morning, where a bunch of neighborhood council board members got together, and I heard horror stories about how they had to conduct meetings out of public storage facilities and whatnot. You guys are doing very well here. You send this letter out, people are going to begin to wonder if you actually spoke to the Radford executives and are in collusion with them. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for that. Any other public comment? Not seeing any board comments? Yeah, Drew.
Yeah, I like the way that this is written. The only thing that I don't like of language is that let's see, like the United Nations building in New York City, I think that their neutrality in world events is questionable, and I think that this facility and this board represents the stakeholders of Studio City much more effectively than the United Nations does in its capacity, stated or otherwise. And I wish that we could remove that phrase. Our neutrality stands on its own.
I didn't care for the line either for very different reasons, but I think the sentence would stand fine without the preface of the United Nations reference.
I actually thought it was confusing because the metaphor doesn't really work because we're not a building. This is the building. And
No,
so
we're also not on that level of
So the motion is to, the amendment is to remove the language.
like the
sentence.
United Nations building in New York City.
That's correct. The sentence
Just
can
say
just
the SCNC is a
begin
neutral entity
with, that's,
at the Radford. Yeah, you don't need,
Someone offering that as an amendment?
I'll offer that as an amendment.
okay, go ahead.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Public comment on the amendment to strike that the words "like the United Nations building in New York City" and leave the motion intact, not goat puppet son.
And you didn't ask the maker of the motion if they accept the amendment.
Don't have to.
you don't have to.
That's Rosenberg.
It was offered and that's it. Goat, not goat, son. Go ahead, give a minute.
I think you wrote a very good letter. Thanks for following through. In Van Nuys, they don't follow through, so you're two thumbs up to me. And they do have points on the amendment, which I agree with. It doesn't mean you lack any character. I think you have tons of character. Thank you.
Any other public comment on the amendment? Board comment on the amendment? Board vote on the amendment?
Oh, board vote on the amendment. Okay. Jen Bladen?
Yes on the amendment.
That's what, we're only voting. Kim?
Yes.
Dean Cutler?
Yeah.
Dimitri Gastianis?
No,
You don't want the amendment.
don't see any point.
Jeff Hardwick?
Yes.
Scott Mandel?
Yes.
Chip Meehan?
Yep.
No?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Richard Niederberg's absent. Lori Rittenberg?
Yes.
Drew Shaw?
Yes.
Del Slaughter, yes. Abby Velasca?
Yes.
Yes. Ian King?
Yes.
Yes. Hansley?
Yes.
Amendment carries. Now can we call for a vote on the?
Yes.
Yes.
We're not going to have any more discussion on the,
You want to have more discussion?
yeah, it was all well written, and I understand the frustration with them as I think you could feel it from all of us, that we were frustrated that they're doing this, that they're not here. Do we really want to make it this formal? It does seem like we're drawing a line in the sand with them instead of continuing dialogue by email or whatnot. I mean, I don't think this is gonna help, really. I mean, I think it may create some, bad feelings. I'm just sort of asking the question. It's just a thought that we need to be this formal with our frustration.
There was a city council meeting, I believe it was a week and a half ago.
Tuesday.
And there was a city council motion in support of the strike, and Councilmember Rahman had to leave the room and recuse herself from the discussion and participation in the motion because her husband is a member of the Writers Guild. So I don't think we're being all that unreasonable in asking our representative to continue coming to the meeting and not listen to or not take heed to the request from the Writers Guild leadership asking our council member not to come to our meetings or let her staff come. So
there was
But
also.
do we have to do it in a motion in this, does it have, because you've already written a letter. Can't we continue in a more informal way, or no, you don't think it's gonna be good enough, clearly?
I don't think so.
I think there's something to be said for the collective voice. I also don't view it as necessarily formal. I view it more as just direct. I think it's being very clear in what it's asking for. And I think what it's asking for is very reasonable.
But also with the Tuesday meeting where Councilmember Rahman had to recuse, she had to cross city worker picket lines to get to that meeting. But she won't cross.
She's not even crossing here, by the way.
Right, right. So, I mean, it's clearly, we had in Barry's meeting a number of, I audited that one too that week. We had a number of stakeholders in the community that came in, and they were talking about, they objected to the motion because they saw the
They were writers.
They were writers. They saw the issue in Barry's,
Well, they saw our agenda on Radford when they were out there picketing. That's the only way they knew.
okay. But so it was posted.
Yeah.
And so we chatted with them about it, and their whole point was, this is where we work. And we discussed the fact that CBS doesn't own it anymore. This is a vendor. These people would like to have the strike over as well, because they're losing money. And it was sort of, well, it's symbolic, and at some point, it's misplaced symbolism. And, I mean, it's like.
You don't have to sell me on that part, it's just the being this.
Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I think it's our duty. The duty of the neighborhood council is to advise our council member. So Scott kind of reached out informally via email, but I think, nothing amounted to it. So I think we need to be very forceful in expressing not only the views of the neighborhood council, but the stakeholders, because they're being, left out here as well. They're not being represented. I mean, it's nice that Councilmember Krikorian's rep showed up and Assemblymember Friedman's rep showed up. So I don't see any reason why Rahman can't send a person. I think she's conflicted, quite honestly.
Our business goes on.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
And there are people, at least one person in this room who works on the lot, whose union is not striking, and if this person doesn't show up to work, that person will get fired.
I just want to say, two things. It was weird because when I went to Ram's office on Friday, I asked Walker King, and he was sort of like, well, they asked us not to. I'm like, but we're not writers. We're in a building, right? It just doesn't even make sense to me that
But
they're
if
not.
one of the programmers had asked them to attend the meeting, would they have seen that request with equal weight as the Writers or Directors Guild, because there's a conflict?
I don't know.
If Disney came up and said, it's really important to us that you go to the meeting on Radford, they're not involved in this, you should go.
Right.
Right. they're choosing a side.
They're supposed to represent all stakeholders, including somebody like Bob Iger.
Right.
Well, keep in mind, we are elected and appointed city officials. And they didn't seem to have much of a problem of us being here. They just didn't want the higher profile person to be here. And I think that's very hypocritical.
Oh, the writers, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the writers, I have not heard from Writers Guild leadership asking us to not have our meetings here. They just want Nithya and her staff to not.
And Horvath.
And Horvath and her staff.
And we don't know if they've reached out to Paul or not. But Danielle showed up.
They did to barter though, and she doesn't go for that.
She said no.
We call for a vote.
Thank you, Drew. I think we're ready to vote.
Okay. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council opposes the boycott of our meeting locations due to any strike at the Radford Studio Center by Los Angeles City Council member Nithya Raman and Los Angeles County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, or any other elected public official. The SCNC has met at this studio center for more than 20 years. Government officials are expected to send their representatives and have attended the meetings at this location for 20+ years. The SCNC is a neutral entity at the Radford Studio Center and is not taking any positions on any strike. All who attend the SCNC meetings enter through a neutral gate where there are no picketers. Furthermore, the SCNC and elected public officials represent all stakeholders in Studio City. And there's attached letters. Okay. Jen Bladen. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Dimitri.
Yes.
Jeff Hardwick.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Chip Meehan.
Yes.
Richard Niederberg is absent. Lori Rittenberg.
Yes.
Drew Shaw.
Yes.
Adele Slaughter, yes. Abby Velasco.
Yes.
Ian King.
Yes.
Ansley Gaiman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, transportation has one motion this evening. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports Council File 23-0002-S55 for an automated speed enforcement system pilot program in the city of Los Angeles. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to Council File 23-0002-S55. There was a link, and I should just mention that some years ago, this neighborhood council did support getting rid of the red light cameras in the city of LA. This is entirely different. And you would get like a parking ticket and not a kind of ticket that it causes a point on your driver's record. So this is quite different, and it does have a sunset clause in it, so it's not perpetual. So just some food for thought on why this came about now. Scott?
We have public comment on this item, not Go Puppet Son. You have 1 minute.
Well thought out by the person that trying to promote the sport. I would be against it for several reasons. Regarding due processes, cost shifting to administrative, in which if someone wanted to do a subpoena, it would have to go to the city clerk's office, in which you have to set an appointment to have a subpoena issued. Also, another reason why the red lights cameras were so detrimental is people were doing tons of discovery motions, which they were mandated to comply. They're just changing the jurisdiction to make it more difficult. And I suspect if you receive a ticket in the mail, you have to pay first, then you have to prove your innocence, which is definitely not how I grew up. Thank you.
Any other public comment on this item? We also have Sebastian from Laura Friedman's office to help answer some questions that the board will have. Go ahead, Chip.
Sebastian, So this is a pilot program. So a pilot program for me is, the way I would do that is I would say, this is what we're trying to do. This is the tactic that we think achieves the goal. And we check along the way and we modify the approach. And if it's not working, we kill it. If it's working really well, we amplify it. When I asked the question in the meeting, were you in the meeting? I don't think you were in Barry's meeting.
We're talking about the transportation committee.
Yeah, you was there.
I was there.
Okay, so I wasn't clear, and then the sunset's 2028,
No, it is January 1st, 2032.
2032. So 9 years is a lifetime. It's not a pilot program. That's where I got concerned. So I have a bunch of issues, the due process stuff, the fact that it's a fine, not a point, means it's really not a ticket, which means it's really not a deterrent. I wasn't sure where the data is going to be captured to amend the tactic and the execution along the way. It sounded like, well, we're going to put it out there for 9 years and see what happens. That seems too far. Did I miss something in there?
I will elaborate just a bit. So January 1st, 2032 is the sunset date for the program. However, in between then, the governing agency and the city will be able to check in on the program and verify whether the program is working. For instance, it is written in the bill that if we see that along these speed safety corridors that the cameras are not having an effect, there continues to be injuries, then the cameras can be removed. And it's going to be up to the city and the overseeing agency. So City of Los Angeles, it probably would be Department of Transportation. Then they can decide to remove it. You mentioned the issue of the fines, like a parking ticket. Yes, that is one way of deterrence. The other way is that the fines go to pay for speed calming measures, and that includes bike lanes, chokers, curb extensions, median islands, raised crosswalks. So it's like a dual prong system here. You're fining the drivers, but then those fines are funding improvements that will hopefully calm speeding drivers on the roads.
Yeah, and thank you. And I'd forgotten that piece of it, which also made me uncomfortable. This is a revenue generating scheme. Grabbing people which granted are speeding. They're going to get an email or a letter in the mailbox. They're not going to be pulled over by an officer. So they're not actually going to confront their accuser, right? And the $100 just goes, and my streets are slow streets, great program. I'm a recipient of that. If we want to do slow streets or speed or traffic calming measures, we should budget for that. I think I'm against this because throwing it on top and giving DOT a program which doesn't seem that pass-fail is really clearly marked. I mean, if there's still people dying on the streets and maybe the cameras aren't working, there could be a gazillion different reasons why there are still fatalities that have nothing to do with vehicular speed. I mean, so this might be a solution that's misapplied. It just seemed like a funky way to get money for sidewalks and maybe to slow people down. I wasn't comfortable with it.
So I'll add a little context here. It's clear that police officers are not going to be pulling people over for traffic violations. Many times in the San Fernando Valley, there may only be one officer doing traffic. I think last year was the worst year in LA for speeding and traffic fatalities, and it's not going away. The state legislature is hamstringing police, not letting the police pull people over for all kinds of things, and there's no law enforcement. So the state sort of created the problem that the state is now at least being able to solve. There will be no law enforcement for speeding. We all see it, people are getting hit, and there's no solution other than this. And I'm usually against all kinds of surveillance type law enforcement, but I don't think we have much of a choice. And police can still pull people over. There's a whole other process. This just goes actually to the driver. I mean, to the owner of the car, not to the driver. And the fines are graduated, and there's clauses in there for indigent people, and if you're poor, you pay less amount. And
Are they go up by how fast you're going?
yes, so I believe it starts 11 miles over the speed limit and goes up to when you're 100 miles an hour. It's the highest fine.
But if you're making $100,000 a year and you go 100 miles an hour, you pay $500?
Yes, that's the highest fine.
And if you are on food stamps and driving 100 miles an hour, you don't pay any fine? Or it's $15?
How do they know?
So,
Well, you can petition it when it comes in. I'd love to pay the fine, but I'm broke.
there will be an established appeals process, and specifically the equity clause in this bill. I'll read it really quick. It just requires the pilot cities to reduce ticket fines and penalties by 80% for people with household incomes less than 125% of the federal poverty level, and for people who receive CalFresh benefits, supplemental security income, or Medi-Cal benefits, and by 50% for those living 200% above the federal poverty line. We don't want to be punitive with this bill. We do want to
But
change.
if you get hit by a car with someone, if he's driving a 61 Chevy and he hits you and he's unemployed and hasn't had a job in 10 years, you're still dead.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing that
Yeah,
pissed
but
me off.
somebody that's on food stamps is not gonna be able to pay 500, so at least you're getting something out of them. And you also mentioned the slow streets neighborhood.
Right.
These would not be in a slow streets area.
But they would pay-
it would be on Laurel Canyon,
Right.
which doesn't qualify for slow streets.
No, right, but I mean, the idea was that the money that came from this program would pay for other slow street programs elsewhere.
Or
Other-
even traffic calming
Right,
on
right.
Laurel Canyon.
Yeah, yeah,
like- Yeah.
Is there an established area where these are gonna be? Are they going
Yes.
to even be in Studio City? I didn't read the council file, but
Yes.
are there already identified?
Yes, so I'll just read it to you first. So there's going to be 6 pilot cities. Los Angeles is one of them. And so what this bill does is, and I'll find you the exact language. So what they do is they identify a speed safety corridor. So pretty much a corridor in the city where there's a lot of injuries, history of speeding, especially near school zones. And those specific areas is where you'll have a.
So they're gonna look at statistics.
Excuse me?
They're gonna look at statistics.
Absolutely. I mean, the city is going to be working with the Department of Transportation to install these, and I assume also the council members.
And Scott attended one of the locations. You should tell
And
us.
are there any projected to be in Studio City?
Yes.
Along Laurel Canyon?
We have some highways to hell in Studio City. They'll be using the speeding data. So LA traffic is already flagged. I mean, Laurel Canyon and parts of Coldwater. I mean, people speed on Ventura Boulevard. You believe that? You see it. I believe Los Angeles only gets, Sebastian, is it 120 or 125 cameras? I mean,
I believe 130.
okay. Wow.
Where?
For the whole city, though.
That's what I thought. It's like, how much is this really funneling into Studio City?
It is 130, but I want to just come back to it. It is a pilot program, so these cameras, even though the allotment is 130 for the city of Los Angeles, they have to be distributed, or they hopefully will be distributed equally throughout the 15 council districts in areas that have been identified as being significantly, dangerous. And should this program be successful by 2032 or earlier, if the cities really like them and they start seeing changes, I'm sure this could be expanded in the future.
I guess given the demographics, we'll have a better chance of more money through planting them here.
Yes.
But the money will go into the budget for the city.
Yeah.
And be distributed evenly
Right.
across the city.
Right, so we can
So
be
we'll
sure we're gonna have cameras, not money.
Right. So you'll be funding other programs.
Well, they're supposed to fund the slowing measures in the areas where the speeders are taking place. It's a lot of data collection as well. And I think if you read the whole bill and the analysis, they really seem to have learned their lesson from the red light camera that was, struck down in court. I mean, was it $270 for making a rolling right turn on a red light?
I got fined over $500 for that in Glendale. And then shortly after that, the LA Times did an expose on this, but it was precisely for that, for a rolling right.
Yeah, and those were manned by vendors where there was a incentive to catch as many tickets as possible as a money-making venture. I know you're gonna say, well, that's what the city wants to do, but it's really for data collection and finding out where the speeders are and how to slow them down. Like I said, the police are not gonna pull people over. They don't do it. When was the last
Don't they
time?
already have a concept of where the speeders are if they've got placements figured out for these cameras?
But they don't.
What's the reason for that? That the police aren't going to do that?
They're understaffed.
They're understaffed and
We
underfunded.
need more police.
Th-
This
there-
is a money grab. We need
Yeah, but
more
that's,
police.
to me, that's the issue.
This is,
They say they are.
well, I'm with Richard and Chip hit all points too, so I've been a little quiet, but I'm totally against these things myself.
Yeah.
Totally.
But the funding of the police isn't gonna be for traffic officers.
So,
I just think, the only people who do have time to go fight something like that, if the cameras are wrong, which they can be, things good, technology goes wrong, things are not gauged properly, whatever. The only people who can go fight it are those who can't afford to pay it or aren't gonna pay much anyways. The people in the middle, the people, high end of the income, they're just gonna pay it, move along, and the people in the middle, will get hurt. And it may be, again, they may not have really been speeding or a couple of miles over. I don't know where it's the point. is
Starts
they
at 11.
start.
what agency is responsible for calibrating 130 cameras and making sure that this camera is catching the correct car and not the car beside it? And what about cars that have been, a rental car, a loaned vehicle, a stolen vehicle? If somebody steals my car and goes ripping down Ventura Boulevard and then I get a $500 fine, now I have to go and fight this and take time off of work to go down to the city. And now I'm out a day or 2 days or however many days it takes to get something resolved with the city. I had a parking citation here where I was parked in a neighborhood parking, completely open. The sign for 2-hour parking ends. I'm a block down from there in the clear. I get a parking ticket for 2 hours over. I take a photo, I go down, I try and fight it. I get a letter that says, oh, we decided administratively that you don't get to fight this anymore and you're out the money. So now I'm out 2 days of work for going down to hassle with this, plus more time. Now I'm out the money again. I still don't have any due process. How much money is this going to raise versus hiring a police officer to sit here and just slow people down? Just park a squad car that's sitting with a light on. Park a motorcycle that doesn't run anymore with the light on to just get people to slow down. If that's the goal, is to change the behavior, there's other ways to change behavior without just denying everybody due process rights. And honestly, this has been thrown out in Ohio already. The Supreme Court has said that these violate Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, and Eighth Amendments. How does this any different? You're basically coming here pitching us a kindler, gentler machine gun in the words of Neil Young, but it's still a machine gun and it's still just going to blast indiscriminately and just hope to snag. How much money is this program going to raise? We're going to build 2 sidewalks. Don't we already have sidewalk money? We have so much money sloshing around the city. Now we're just going to, penalize people for no reason.
So I can address, if you like,
Please.
some of your earlier statements. So the overseeing agency, there's probably going to be Department of Transportation here in the city of Los Angeles.
Are they the same agency that can't provide for a safe left turn at the majority of intersections in the city? That's why we have a problem with people running red lights, because nobody can safely make a left turn. And we're going to trust that this agency can implement a just program with traffic cameras, and they can't even make a left turn. They can't even stagger traffic lights for 30 seconds to give people a safe opportunity for a left turn.
Yeah, I can't speak to the effectiveness of the agency. All I can speak to is that this bill would allow the Department of Transportation to implement these cameras. And for instance, when a picture is taken, it will be I have it right here, allow me. So you'll have properly trained designated municipal employees as specified to operate the speed safety system and make determinations on when notices of violations should be issued. Requires training and proof of successful completion of peace officer and municipal training to be obtained by the pilot cities. There will be an appeal process and you will have access to the photo. You will be notified within 15 days of the violation, and then you will have access to the whether it's a photo or a video.
And how are you notified?
I believe it will be by mail, just like a parking ticket would be. But then
It
again,
would follow the registration.
Yes.
Right? The license plate would be there, so wherever the car is registered, that's where it will be mailed.
and a
Yeah.
lot,
I haven't gotten my vehicle registration since COVID started. We pay it on time, and I get tickets anywhere that I park. I have to go to the DMV on a separate day and pay $60 extra. So they'll print me out a sticker that I can put on my car. And then somebody just comes and rips a sticker off my car. Now I still don't have a sticker, and I still get parking tickets all the time that I have to go fight.
you may want to speak to me offline about
Yeah.
registration.
I mean, it's
We
just
can help-
another thing that's just happening where, we're counting on the mail to run in 2 weeks. So I even know that I'm getting a ticket. And then do I have a bunch of fines that build up if I don't pay this ticket? Do I get a failure to appear? What's happening?
You mentioned calibration, and this cameras. This bill will also provide that provides that speed safety systems must ensure regular inspection and certification of the speed safety system to ensure proper calibration, conduct an annual inspection by independent calibration laboratory, and document the inspection, operation, and calibration of the speed safety system. So there is a set of checks and balances in the system. Within the program, also, there is the sunset clause as well.
Also, I want to add about the trust factor. One of the reasons why this has come about is because our state legislature and our city council does not trust the police. So the police, to say that there's a distrust of, the mail system and the Department of Transportation, the whole point of this is they don't want the police enforcing these laws, okay? So you have to understand, people are not going to get pulled over for speeding. There almost is no choice. Otherwise, this is going to get worse to continue. It's a leap of faith to some degree, but the traffic officers aren't coming, and the people behind this are the ones that are behind the changes of the laws that we continually, this board opposes, that handcuffs the police from doing their job. The city council, that people who voted against prosecuting people who had a trunk full of detached catalytic converters. No, because it puts people in contact with law enforcement. This doesn't put people in contact with law enforcement, which is why it's getting traction to address the problem of speeding and highway recklessness, or not highway, street recklessness. They're encouraging us and they're forcing us to walk and take our bicycles to get everywhere. And this is part of that plan. And if this doesn't pass, it fails at our risk. And it's not perfect, but the police are not going to be pulling the speeders over when you see them driving like that.
The last few years, 4 times now, there have been officers just waiting for people to skip a stop sign or make an illegal turn, because now there are signs up, you can't turn right at between 8 and 10 in the morning or whatever. They're out there and they're ticketing. They've done this many times in hills behind where I'm at. So they're out there, they are
If they
ticketing
were
people.
targeted at our requests when those signs were put in.
Those are
It's
very-
not an everyday
Even
occurrence.
further up, the other stop signs.
Those are very focused.
Scott, are you saying that the city is not trusting police officers to do
Their job.
their job,
The city and the state.
the city and the state, and therefore a program like this becomes more necessary?
That's my
But to me, that becomes a very slippery slope, because, we could extend that reasoning to all sorts of things. That the city or the state no longer for their own reasons, which is a whole separate conversation, don't trust the police. So then the slippery slope is then we start doling out work that police customarily did to surveillance cameras and data collection.
But that's what they're doing, but they don't want police responding to certain calls, they don't want
Right, but
police
that's the
responding to traffic accidents. That's coming, that's the reality. I read the.
It's coming in China.
I read the report from Walker when they were questioned why, what was the bill about pretextual stops? They don't.
It was, decriminalizing certain traffic stops,
Like where
like
the-
tinted windows.
Yeah,
Tinted windows, light violations.
which should be banned. Tinted windows are a hazard for drivers.
They are banned.
Right, but the police cannot pull you over for that now.
Right.
So that's,
But the solution to me is that we need to be more outspoken about with our opposition to relinquishing the responsibility that police typically have for these kinds of responsibilities.
that's not happening in this state. That's not how people vote. So, yes, Jen.
I have a tendency to trust committee, when a motion comes to us from a committee, I have a tendency to trust that the committee had the conversation that we're having right now. And my understanding, Chip, I'm sorry to bug you while you're getting pizza, but you were in the transportation committee meeting, is that correct?
Sorry?
You were in the transportation committee meeting where this motion was written,
Yes.
and you are probably going to vote no.
And I was not on the committee. I just wanted to see.
Okay, you were
But so
auditing.
was Scott.
Okay.
And so, and so was Scott. And Scott typically, this is an interesting change of
Uh-huh.
roles for the two of us.
And
I've
our
been here,
agenda
I've been here
actually
22
said,
minutes and I can tell
it
that y'all
said
have switched hats.
supports or opposes. We had not decided until that night. We could have gone either way.
Okay.
And to be honest, I totally thought Scott would oppose this. And to my surprise, he supported it, and he's told you why
Yeah.
tonight, and I totally see his reasoning.
But he also never read George Orwell, clearly.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say this is so.
And I would go with Scott's argument if it wasn't going
Well-
pilot program to 2032.
That, I was gonna say, if you were doing a pilot program for a year or two, right?
5 even.
But why do it for 9 years? That's so completely bizarre. Wait, let me finish. It's also kind of scary. There's a scary quality to it, like Big Brother is watching. And not that, listen, the speeding is horrific. It's really bad. I want to be a cop right now and stop people and give them tickets. I'm not saying that it's not a problem. I just don't know that this is the solution that makes sense. And I don't know that there is another solution. I'd like to hire more policemen. Me personally, I love cops.
It's
You know?
letting cities do it up to 9 years, though. LA can opt out of it after 6 months. And if
Good luck.
there's the furor that there was with red light cameras, this thing may not be around very long.
It would be really nice to find a way to get people to slow down.
This is what that.
That's-
By the way,
without cameras.
This bill authorizes automated speed enforcement systems to be deployed in 6 cities in California for up to 5 years until a sunset date of January 1st, 2032.
I was just about to make that amendment.
So
It is
What
up
does
to
that
5
mean?
years.
I'm a little confused by that word.
It ends in 2032,
Yeah,
full stop. But you can do the program for up to 5 years.
I see, anywhere
From
within
now
that space.
until.
So a city might not decide to do it until 2027, and then they could do it for
So
up to 5.
it's
So it
just
is a 5-year program.
Yeah.
So it is a 5-year term.
It's 5 years.
Oh.
Just 5 years for a vote. Couple things. I wanted to make a comment on one thing. Apologize. Lost my place.
It's a little Blade Runner-y, isn't it?
Yeah, it's costly to test this stuff out, too.
Well, that's their problem.
Well, it's not like
No, it's
RoboCop.
better than-
I mean, they don't vaporize you.
The other concern I have, Barry, just to speak to the point you made earlier, is I'm concerned that there's no incentive for the city to stop this program if they're making money off of it.
Well, there was incentive for red light cameras.
Yeah,
They got bombarded.
Yeah,
with-
They got
And they
killed.
had to stop, and there would have been some council members out of office had they not.
But that took a long time for them to get to that point. I ate my $500.
Yeah.
But you also
And so
got,
did scores of others.
but you
Sorry.
got points on your license.
What's that?
You got points on your license.
I
It was a
did,
moving-
but the whole
This
thing.
one
This
won't
is
give-
not.
Yeah, but
So
the whole
this
thing
is-
felt like a total violation. To get something in the mail, I got something in the mail, I got a link to a website, I see my car making the rolling right. And admittedly, I was at fault. But it just, the whole thing just felt like a violation to my conscience. It
I
did
got
not
one
feel
from
good.
the city of Beverly
Oh, they're
Hills,
everywhere.
and their rates were higher.
Oh, they're everywhere there.
It was like
I got one.
500 something.
A couple things. We're not looking to replace the role of law enforcement. Law enforcement is in support of this bill. They like it. Officers we've spoken to, Glendale PD is in support of this. They're one of the pilot cities and they're looking forward. We've spoken to the chief. They're looking forward to the implementation of this. You can have your cake and eat it too in this situation when it comes to the cops and this program. You know, if I've used to cover the San Fernando Valley and Sherman Oaks, I know how many traffic officers there are on any given day. It's a very low number.
In
This is-
Glendale, I should say, sorry to interrupt, it's a very high number.
Difference.
It is, yeah, I'm just saying.
We
That's
have
probably why.
we have one police officer for all of Studio City.
One patrol, one
yeah.
patrol car for all of Studio City, yeah, so.
They say that though, I've seen more within an hour's time, I've seen more and it's not the same one, believe me.
Interesting.
And I just want to make one point, the last point, or last and another point. Speed cameras will provide a lighter, non-biased way to report speed violations. So for instance, the fines are $50 for going, 11 to 15 over the speed limit, 100 for going 15 to 25, 200 for going over 25. Individuals going 100 face a $500 fine. Now, in contrast, under the current law, you are ticketed. You're looking at 115 is 238. 16 to 25 is 367, and going $100 over the speed limit is $900.
$100 over the speed limit?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No,
100
I'm
miles
not
per
listening,
hour.
that's why. Say it
100
again.
miles per hour or greater is a $900 ticket.
Okay.
So it's lighter, it's non-biased. They're not taking pictures of your face. It's solely of the vehicle, and any information gathered is purely confidential and will not be disclosed. So your information is.
When the police do it, they're also using their speedometer, their judgment, their laser gun, all the same types of modern equipment that we're fearing in the automated camera system. All that equipment still needs to be calibrated, and you're getting human judgment. And Jeff?
Yeah, this is why they have it. I mean, this is in the fourth sentence. Traditional enforcement methods have had a well-documented disparate impact on communities of color and implicit or explicit racial bias in police traffic stops with drivers of color at risk. So that's part of what they're getting at here. In addition,
Now we've gone to war
He
games.
said
by
that
getting the
it's an
human out of the way.
unbiased is what.
a racial and economic equity impact analysis developed in collaboration with local racial justice and economic equity stakeholder groups. That's part of the law. The analysis shall include the number of citations issued to indigent individuals, number of citations issued to individuals of up to 250% above the poverty line, number of violations issued to each zip code. So they're bringing a racial element in here, and I think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to take the traditional law enforcement methods away from the police because we don't have enough staffing, and they're trying to decriminalize a lot of this stuff. And they're trying to do this very bizarre Orwellian approach to law enforcement, which I completely disagree with. And to throw these racial components in, I think in the law is not right.
Well, we call for a vote.
Vote.
Let's vote.
Are you enjoying the show back there, Adele?
Shit made it up there.
Motion. Portage Studio City Council, Neighborhood Council, SCNC supports am I reading the right one? Yeah. Supports Council File 23-002-S55 for an automated speed enforcement pilot program in the city of Los Angeles. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement to Council File 23-0002-S55. And a vote, we're supporting, so a vote yes is supporting. Jen Bladen,
Yes.
Kim Clements,
No.
Dean Cutler,
No.
Dimitri,
No.
Jeff Hardwick,
No.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Chip Meehan,
Don't tread on me, no.
Richard Niederberg is absent, Lori Rittenberg,
Yes.
Drew Shaw,
No.
Adele Slaughter, yes. Abby Velasco,
Yes.
Ian King,
Yes.
Ansley had to leave, she is only 17 after all. So wait a minute, let me see, 1, 2, 3,
Hitting it's a tie.
4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tie. What does that mean? We vote
Fails.
again?
Motion fails.
Motion fails?
Motion fails.
Oh, because it has to have
It has to have,
a majority, right. Motion fails.
I do have a question, and that is, I put Ainsley out at 10. I didn't see what time she left. Did you
I
guys-
think that's
It
right.
was 9:59 and change.
Okay, so we'll put 10.
Well, that was a close vote. Item 13. Ad hoc committee.
I did so well with the ad hoc with Harvard Westlake that we're going to talk about another ad hoc. So, this new ad hoc will be tied to the LA River Greenway, the LA River Task Force. We've had a couple different names for it that Adele and I would drag Scott down on his bicycle. We've had people turning over rocks and showing Scott salamanders and all kinds of stuff by the river. We are to a place, so in scope, the idea would be to create from Fulton all the way to Lancashire, but more immediately to Tujunga, to activate all of that open space on both sides of the river, to ultimately have open green space, pedestrian and bicycle focused, that was on the river, that went from one end to the other. It hits a lot of the Studio City brands. We're on the river. Admittedly, a channelized portion of the river, but there still is pretty broad open shoulder space on both sides. We are one of the few pedestrian-friendly areas in Los Angeles. You can name, pretty much on one hand, there's Larchmont, there's areas in Santa Monica, some of the West Hollywood areas, Studio City. It's not appealing in Encino, Tarzana. We have a real brand here. We should build that up. The other thing this lets us do, if we have a program to build and maintain these green areas, it gives us a lot of engagement with families in the communities and stakeholders. It lets us go out to other stakeholders in terms of businesses and education, schools. Other nonprofits would support us in this. So we could pull tree people, we could pull other neighborhood councils in, start picking up a model on this. And the other thing that we discovered, and we're still not done with this yet, but these land use issues are difficult for us, as we talked about earlier. You start saying, I'm doing this for unsheltered, disabled vets, and suddenly a developer can do whatever they want to in terms of building to the lot line height. We lose a lot of the leverage we used to have to enforce some sort of code. So we end up with these really intractable battles. We're not going to be able to change the project, but we still could have a conversation with the developer. There may be something else we can put on the table that would be of value to us that is not much of a give to them. One of the things that Lori and I have talked about, many times a developer will owe 4 replacement trees for every native oak, for example, they cut down. But they're building so big on the property, they can't put the trees back on the property, but I owe you. So it goes into a database owned by Urban Forestry, where there's a long list of developers that owe the city substantial amount of plant material, substantial number of trees that are expensive. We could go in potentially, get that free tree stuff and end up having someone like Sprouts, they could take over the whole bank behind their new area and put down, the appropriate native species. We can get the trees for free, we can get the labor for free, and it'd be a great way to activate the community. Scott and I went down with a cast of thousands. There were about 9 or 10 of us with CD4, Rec and Parks, the California State Parks, was it State Parks? California Parks Foundation?
Yes.
And a number of people. We have a lot of folks within the government that are actually working with us on this. So the next step is for us to go in on the area between Whitsett and Laurel on the south side. It has been beleaguered for a long time. There was $180,000 that was dedicated to that area. Big paper check with Paul and with Adrian Nazarian. That money went away because during COVID, Park and Recs forgot to say the project is still live, so the money went away. So we lost 180 grand.
Well, it went into the general fund.
Right.
It didn't disappear.
Right, but it disappeared for us. So what we're gonna do is, so the next step is for us to get an ROE, a right of entry, which is actually a badge that will let us go down there and activate volunteer work. So we will reach out to a number of different constituencies, starting on both sides. I'm imagining Campbell Hall on this side, Harvard Westlake on that side. They each get a very discrete area that they clean up and plant. We could start to get other businesses to do it, to kind of adopt various pieces there. Rec and Park will do the heavy work for us. Rec and Park will give us dumpsters. So, we'll get a bunch of, so the program, as we've discussed it amongst ourselves, and I'm making this up right now, but starting in, say, October, call it Second Saturday. So the second Saturday of every month for a year, from 8 to noon, we're going to have families come down. Spend time with your high school student as they do their mandatory hours of civil service. So we will have laid out a plan for what needs to get done. Take this out, take this out, take this out. We'll be able to actually have it in a modular fashion. So if we have 6 people show up, we have work for 6 people. If we have 60, we have work for 60 people. We'll put it together. All the debris will be put in the dumpster. Rec and Parks will take it out over the course of the year. So the purpose of this vote, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the event LA River Greenway, South Bank, Whitsett to Laurel, removing invasives, planting natives, general cleanup, and debris removal. The SCNC is the support of CD4, along with Rec and Parks. The SCNC will promote the event via social media, that's you, and the work will be performed by community volunteers. It's anticipated this will occur over the course of multiple weekends, October 23 to October 24th. There was no request for funds at this time, and Drew and I were speaking about someone that sort of came in over the transom to the, I think it was just to me, who has Drew, was it Angels?
That's right. It's,
What's it, I just lost the, Angel
Yes,
from
same.
Montgomery. It's a late day. So anyhow, it's a group that is involved in not just handling encampments from removal, but doing really deep cleaning, really refurbishment of the area. She got my name, apparently, I didn't know till today, from Mike in the back from Radford. And also Radford is working with that organization. We're going to talk with them about doing the same kind of program since the resources are suddenly here between Laurel and Radford, since this has just come up. But that's another group that will work with us on the other side. So basically what I'm doing is asking people to approve the motion so I can go to the city attorney, say to the city attorney, this is the thing. We will then be blessed by the City of Los Angeles insurance, which is what I need for the city to give us the right of entry. Lori,
City is not self-insured. City doesn't buy it, is not self-insured. I can tell you that.
this is, how did that work with the,
We have a, I can read it. Proof of insurance for City of LA. This is to certify that the City of Los Angeles self-administers, defends, settles, and pays third-party claims for bodily injury, personal injury, death, and/or property damage protection under this program and is warranted to meet or exceed 5 million combined single limit per occurrence. And it's Bass's letterhead.
Oh, interesting. Well,
Signed by Victor T. Parker, Director of Risk Management. That's the general slip. I mean, we had one from Garcetti too. That's the one we submit, right?
Yep.
that's interesting. Maybe it's just for, maybe this is I guess this is different, but also just one more clarification. We talked about, the trees. I was talking about the sidewalk program. We could get that information in terms of, how many trees have not been replaced based upon sidewalk repair, when they have to be removed for sidewalk repair. I don't know for a fact, maybe if you found out from another source that urban forestry keeps track of tree plantings that developers owe us. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if urban
We
forestry.
can get that. I thought you had that as well. We can do
Okay,
that.
good.
It's not going to be hard to get free plant material. Barry? Public comment, okay? Barry?
Did we second
Sure.
this? Did I miss the?
You didn't, he didn't make the motion yet.
Oh, you didn't, so.
You didn't say it.
Just read
I
the
read-
motion.
He
I
didn't
did.
finish.
I
Oh,
would like to ask for an
I'm
amendment.
sorry.
hold on.
Wait,
Yeah,
we gotta-
it's not on a motion yet.
So I did, there's no request for funds. The motion is brought by Chip and seconded by.
Adele.
Thank you, Adele. Drew?
Okay, my question would be, how are the plants along that area Is it just rainwater? Are they watered by municipal water?
There is irrigation that has been there and has been problematic all the way through. The notion would be to use natives that would only need some sort of nominal water until they got established.
Right.
And then they wouldn't need water at all.
And so if it's mostly just natural water sources for them, I would ask to
Just so you know,
amend from
Rec and Parks likes having everything irrigated
sure.
heavily. So what happens a lot is Rec and Park on their dime will put in more than we need, and then you turn it off.
Right. I would just like to ask to amend from removing invasives to removing selective invasives while maintaining healthy established trees and plants. Because along that area, that's my strip of the river there. And there are great trees that are not native, but have been there forever and are giant and strong and holding up the hillside. And, I don't know how much removing of an invasive that you want to do if it's a 70-year-old tree that's giant.
Yeah, I mean, there
established.
would judgments involved there because most of what is established over the course of the past is not native.
Right.
But the idea is to build tree canopy. So if we have eucalyptus, there's a couple beautiful eucalyptus, although
Sure.
it doesn't belong there.
They
So
do
we
keep the
would
mosquitoes.
thin out as much of the non-native as possible while still keeping maximum shade coverage, but also creating a nursery situation so you'd plant the tree that 20 years from now would let you take out the non-native.
Right.
Barry?
And you're only talking about Witsit to Laurel Canyon on the south side,
At
so
this-
everyone knows.
Yeah, at this point, we'll start there, although
And also, in terms of the quote-unquote greenway, that's only Fulton to Radford. There is no greenway from Radford to Lankershim. And before you start going to businesses, adjacent businesses for plants and anything, you need to contact the city and/or county, depending on which stretch it is, because the one in this motion is city, but others are county. And they have a plan that I've been part of many meetings on.
Yeah.
And you start planting stuff there, and if they don't like it, they're gonna rip it out.
it's got to be part of the whole Rio.
Right.
Yeah, no,
Right.
without question. There is all kinds of regulations about what can be done here. And in fact, we'll have to modify the Rio requirement by keeping the stuff that Drew talked about that's there and it's mature, because we don't want to clear cut it. So
And there's some contention right now between Colfax and Lankershim, because in a decade's worth of meetings with both the county and city, we were promised, and this neighborhood council submitted support for what we were promised, the bike path being on the south side between Colfax and Lankershim, which in the latest city plan isn't, but yet in the county plan from a few years back, that Universal put in money for all the way back to Witsit from Lankershim. It was on the south side, including a tunnel under the 101 between Vineland and Lankershim. So there's a lot of stuff in flux right now that needs to be addressed before any planting is done,
This
where
sta-
there's no plants.
this stays away from that for
Yeah.
right now. So what this is doing right now is south side, which is to Laurel. I would love to quickly jump to the north side. And I think once we do the south side, we could do the north side. I spoke with Terry, for example, has that whole bridge, whatever the bridge square, whatever we call that area. They have a pretty active group with direction. They could come down and potentially land.
Footbridge or
Footbridge,
something,
yes. So they could potentially, with some guidance, landscape the north side there. But this is only about getting approval for the notion so we can get the insurance and start on the south side and take back some of the undergrowth, clear it out so light gets in there, so it's not as dark and shady and secure a place to make an encampment on the south side. We'd like to open that up more. And then what we could also do on this one south side, ultimately, many of us have gone through and you've seen that there's stairs and there's gates that have never been opened. The idea is to have the area accessible to Ventura Boulevard, so people could do little loops, not do the whole block. It would be nice to actually clean it up, show it was safe, and then start integrating that.
And there are two existing places that are fenced off.
Yep.
But the walkway's already there.
Yep. Exactly right.
Yeah, and there are signs that say you can't walk along there.
Well, they closed off the one at Bank of America because people were sleeping there, so they pulled down the roll-up gate.
Okay.
So one of the primary purposes of this is so the neighborhood council, this is considered an event. So we need board approval so we can promote it and get volunteers and prime the pump to get these other interested parties, especially the ones with the equipment and the other ones that have the money, to show community interest. We're not going to be rebuilding the entire LA River banks from here to wherever. This is just to start the process and get rec and parks. And what was that park?
It was State park, was it state park?
They're the ones they want to spend money.
Quimby Funds?
No, it's a group.
Yeah, it was the Park Foundation. It
Yeah,
was
something
I
Parks
don't think it
Foundation.
was State Parks Foundation, but she also like stood in the back and there were these big guys like, don't talk to the person with the money.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, but they have access to larger grants. And so a larger grant can start to replace some of this $180,000 that went away.
And they're the primary authorities that are going to be working with whatever the plans are, whatever you can plant. We're not,
The little quail logo? Is that what they,
Is that State Parks?
California State Parks Foundation?
It wasn't, no, it's not California State Parks
it
Foundation.
was a foundation.
Okay. I just
So we
call
need,
for a vote on the amendment.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah.
quick, like.
oh, what was
The
that?
amendment is this. I'm just going to read the whole motion.
Did someone second that
don't-
amendment?
Yes, Adele did.
Oh, you
The
did?
the amendment. Does someone,
We haven't even heard, you haven't even.
No, we
heard
haven't
that.
actually made the amendment, so
Oh.
if you know that the intention is not to clear cut and to do what you want, are you comfortable with that?
I would like that to be in the language, yeah, because
Okay.
if it's not in the language, then there's no way to go back and say, oh, but we were hopeful.
We
You know,
intended this.
we were hopeful. If it's so easy to put it in the language now, it would be very nice. That way, we just don't have very excited people with chainsaws just mowing everything
Well,
down.
no one's gonna have chainsaws.
Sure.
So removing invasives,
It goes to removing select invasives, comma, while maintaining healthy established trees and plants, comma, and then going on, planting natives, et cetera.
Sure.
Yeah?
Can you repeat that,
Writing that
please?
down?
So
No,
I
I
have
can't.
it, I have it written down. I wrote it. I'm
Okay.
the secretary. That's my job.
Okay,
Uh,
so we
So-
need to vote on that now.
Yeah, we need to vote on,
Someone second that and then we vote on it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Public comment on the amendment?
No public.
Come
comment.
on, you guys, to say something. Board comment on the amendment, board vote on the amendment.
Board
Can,
vote.
can you read it one more time?
Shall I read the whole thing?
Yes.
I don't, the recorder ran out of time,
Okay.
so I'm
The
writing.
board, the whole motion.
Just just the amendment.
The amendment is removing select invasives, comma, while maintaining healthy established trees and plants, comma, and then going on.
And then planting natives, general cleanup and debris removal.
Yeah.
And Rec and Park is very serious about the fact that there will not be citizens running around with chainsaws, sharp edge. Children will not be running with scissors. We're not allowed to have bobcats or any big equipment. They'll take care of all of that themselves.
Okay,
And so-
shall we call for a vote on the amendment?
Yes.
Jen Bladen?
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Yes?
that's a no vote. My name is Bladen.
There's a no vote on the amendment?
Correct.
No. Kim Clements?
yes.
Dean Cutler?
Yeah.
Dimitri?
Just clarification, we're just voting on the amendment, it's not the motion.
Correct.
Yes.
Jeff Hardwick?
No.
Scott Mandel?
No, I don't think it needs the amendment.
Chip Meehan?
No.
Richard Niederberg's absent. Lori?
No.
Drew?
Yes.
Adele? Yes. Abby?
No.
Ian?
No.
Hensley is not here. Okay, so
That's another tie.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 are no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are yes. So it passes?
No.
It does not pass.
Does not pass.
No amendment.
No amendment. Okay.
Now we
Number one.
can vote on the motion as it was originally presented.
Okay, the motion as it was originally presented is the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the event LA River Greenway South Bank Whitsett Avenue to Laurel Canyon Boulevard, removing invasives, planting natives, general cleanup, and debris removal. The SCNC has support of CD4 along with Rec and Parks. The SCNC will promote the event via social media and the work will be performed by community volunteers. It is anticipated that this will occur over the course of multiple weekends, October 2023 to October 2024. There's no request for funds at this time. Full stop. Jen Bladen.
Yes.
Been seconded?
It was already done, that part was already done. Kim? Clement?
Yes.
Dean Cutler?
Yes.
Dimitri?
Yes.
Jeff Hardwick?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Chip Meehan?
Yes.
Richard is absent. Lori Rittenberg?
Yes.
Drew Shaw?
Yes.
Adele Slaughter, yes. Abby Velasco?
Yes.
Ian King?
Yes.
Yeah, it carries. Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 14, good of the order, brief comments from board members on items not on the agenda. So if you have something to say, but I'll remind you, we can't get into a discussion about it. So if it's something for a maybe future agenda, another committee agenda, just want to complain.
Jan, do you have that PowerPoint presentation?
27
So
slides.
just
I
take it
just
away.
need a committee.
Whoever-
I need an outreach committee. That's all I was gonna say.
I have something, yeah.
Go ahead.
Small item, I'm not sure how to present this, if this is the right place to do it, but I was walking through the neighborhood and at the corner of Rhodes and Ventura, they put in some handicap accessible, disabled accessible curb cuts. And on the southeast corner, so you know where Lemonade is?
Yeah.
So they've put in these ramps so people can get up the curb. On the southeast corner, let me compare and contrast very quickly. On the northwest corner, so where Lemonade is, there's red curbing there to symbolize or signify that there's a curb that's slanting down. On the southeast corner, there's no such thing. And what my concern is, especially with elderly people, but literally anyone, can just walk along and these curbs suddenly taper off and they could get severely injured. So I don't know who to present that to or how to.
Take a picture of it, write it down, send it to our transportation committee.
Sure.
It's a Barry
But
problem.
those are all over the city and I've never seen them painted.
This one just stood out to me as just truly an accident waiting to happen. It's not simply the curb. There's also there's the curb cut that goes to the street. Then there's one that's set back that runs along the sidewalk itself.
I tripped over.
I'll go look.
You did.
I'll go look at it.
I tripped over
tomorrow
it.
It's okay. So it's great. It's on
Rhodes
the
and Ventura.
correct
and
southeast
One's on
corner.
the south and the one that you like is on the north. And they're.
I don't know if I like it, but it's fine.
South,
It's
southeast and
Just
northwest.
identify different.
they're different. Yeah, you can compare and contrast. So northwest is the one that seems like it's going to catch the eye even out of the periphery, and the other one you just can't see coming.
And
That's
that's
the southeast. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want me to take a picture, or are you going to go by?
I'll go look. Because I start work at 8 in the morning and I'll be able to go by there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be curious to know how you interpret it.
Barry, I'll have Vicky take a look at it too. She's spoken to me about, on that intersection there.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Oh,
remember
sure.
the emails. and they
Just
put
now,
the,
put my computer on.
quote unquote.
I can send it to you.
Just the,
Do you have the one from
It wasn't what we
WhatsApp?
thought.
I got I have the one for Walker. It came in my email right now.
If you guys can send it to
Is that
me.
the agenda?
I mean,
Scott, we're still having our good of the order.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
You got something to say?
Yeah, no, one thing I just wanted to apologize for taking so much time with the event and whatnot. Those two motions should have come through the budget committee, which I assumed because there really wasn't time, it came straight here. So I had a lot of questions and vetting to do, which should have been done in the budget. There you go.
Anybody else? Okay, we can adjourn this meeting without objection at 10:21 PM. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Very productive.